Traveler. Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome finally to Concede. Thank you all so much for waiting. If you were here in the live stream, let's try that again. And yeah, stream might be a little bit laggy as well, but it should be okay. Hello and welcome to episode 183 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. Joining you from Gadgeton, New York, it's Ridiculous Hat. That's me. Also joining us from Karazhan, California, it's Botticus.
Hi, Hat.
And from the Maelstrom, Louisiana, it's Appa.
Get me.
And from out there in the world, it's you, the listener. We are supported completely by you. If you'd like to find out how you can support us, receive rewards in return, head to patreon.com/coinconcede. Feel free to leave us an iTunes review as well. Really helps other people find the show. And it's Rise of Shadows. It's here. We made it. We survived.
Barely.
I mean,
Especially after they released that new legendary card last week.
Vargoth was kind of a bummer in terms of the end of the Mammoth meta. So we're going to do something a little different because the entire Dexplanations is going to be...
I figure we could talk about our last week
Yeah.
Because we've only had 1.5 days of this week.
So I think we can talk about the end of Mammoth here. And for anyone listening, the entire Dexplanation is going to be a very long-winded discussion of the ladder as it is now post-Rise of Shadows. But let's talk about life in ladder over the past week, not including the past, 36 hours or so. How about you, Appa?
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and front load my negativity on this show, all right? So don't worry, we're going to be real positive later on, but for this past week, I will say that there have been 2 points in Hearthstone's history where I've wanted to quit the game and not play anymore. One was when I got turn 4 Ultimate Infestationed on multiple occasions, and 2 was when they printed Archmage Vargoth and released him into the Clone Priest meta. And I had to see somebody Shadow Essence of Vargoth into a Shadow Essence one time, and I stopped playing Hearthstone for the rest of the week. I said, no mas, I'm doing literally anything else but this. So I did not play much Hearthstone the past week, and I am much better off for it, if we're being honest. I missed out on some gold for daily quests, but I do not care. That looked miserable, because the end of the Year of the Mammoth was brutal, and that just made it even more brutal, because it took the most frustrating deck to play against and made it even better, even more high-rolly, and even more consistent, and I was not about that. So I took time off of Hearthstone. I actually went back into Eternal on my phone, because that's where I usually played Eternal, and then found out that that game's broken too, so I couldn't play either of my card games. So I just drafted a lot on Magic Arena last week, and that was my laddering. Yeah, Vargoth's brutal with Shadow Essence, but yeah,
Have you ever been Vargothed into Vivid Nightmare?
No, because I didn't allow myself to be put in that situation where that was a thing. I said this is bad for my health, and I did not want to do it.
Yeah, I wanted to clear my daily quest, so I had a Druid quest. So I was looking at the decks that are interesting. I was like, listen, I just want my gold. Can I play Token Druid? And I looked up, and you can, because when you Oaken summons out of Vargoth, it's pretty good. It's a good card. Then it gets a Violet Teacher. And then you win the game the next turn. So I got my quest. I did have a Shaman quest, or I had an Elemental quest, so I played Shaman cards. And I beat a goofy Xerix Vargoth Priest by building myself a double Fireplume Harbinger, Murmuring Elemental, Grumble the World Shaker, Shutterwalk situation. and that man did not stand a chance. May or may not have had a family, but did not stand a chance. Just got completely dumpstered by my 5 mana 4/5 the Drew card, which did not end up costing that much mana. They cost less than that because Murmuring, Harbinger, Grumble 'em back, and then start adding in some burn spells. And you know what? That was like 10% as fun as this current meta. So, it's amazing. How about you, Batikus? What'd you do?
Yes, also I played a bit of Vargoth because I'm a bad person and it seemed like fun. But then I played a game where they went Vargoth into Vivid Nightmare, Heal My Vargoth, which got them a third Vargoth. I killed one of them, and then they resurrected it and had 4 Vargoths because I killed one. And then the next turn I had built I had gone I cubed a cube and then play deaded it, so I had a big board presence, and so they did not have the Mind Blast with like 4 Vargoths in play, and they power word shielded, and then overdrew Malagos, and I was like, oh man, I can like clear most of these Vargoths and then win. And then I played a Stitch Tracker and disconnected from the game. And I tried to wait for it to come back, and it didn't, so I exited the game and got back in. And when I got back in, my rope was burning, and I had my 3 choices. I tried to select one very quickly, and then tried to kill Vargoths, but I was not able to successfully kill any of them before my turn ended, and then they played Mind Blast and killed me. And I yelled very loudly. I was very, very upset. But my last game, I believe, of Year of the Mammoth was with Freeze Shaman that Hat posted in the Discord, and it was against a Druid with Twig of the World Tree. And when they have to naturalize your 5 mana 2/7s because they're going to freeze their face and never be able to attack with Twig of the World Tree, and then you kill them with Bone Mares, it felt pretty good. So 100% win rate with Freeze Shaman. Good way to cap off Year of the Mammoth.
I want to make sure I'm clear as well. I posted that deck to test the new bot in the Discord. Not because it was competitive. It was actually a deck I played as a meme in UHL, where I just searched in the deck tracker. I typed in the word freeze and kept clicking until I had 30. Well, no, it's not quite right. I crafted Marabi because I didn't have it, then clicked him, then typed in freeze, and then clicked until I had 30.
That's dedication to the meme.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it was good. So I think I won a game with it because there was just a lot of value. Either way, that's all in the past.
Also, Snow Flipper Penguin was in that deck.
Well,
I got to Snow Flipper Penguin Bone Mare the Snow Flipper.
Well, you know why, right?
And it was pretty good.
You know why?
What?
Because where do penguins live? It just makes sense.
Right.
There's a lot of ice where they live.
You're right. You're not wrong.
They live next to big skeleton horses? Is that what we're...
They live where it's cold. They live where it's cold, Appa. Where there's a lot of ice. The skeleton part is not the issue. All right, let's keep going. So
I'll kind of miss Year of the Mammoth, but yeah, Vargoth I actually really liked the idea of adding that card just so we had something to do. I just think they probably chose the wrong card. Just gonna put that out there, that Vargoth might have not been the pick of legendary cards to give everybody that you're gonna play with for 4 days or whatever.
But here's the question. Here's the question. If you were giving away a neutral legendary, you look at the neutral legendaries in the set, I need you to pick a card that A, will matter, and B, is not Elysiana. Those are your options.
Why not that one?
Because
Why not that one?
Because making a game take 20 minutes longer and still be in the same meta does not make anyone feel better either. And Vargoth...
Yeah, but at least that card doesn't go into any of the existing decks, and like they printed that card, so if they want games to go longer, then that card's gonna be there eventually. What's 4 extra days in a format where it's not gonna matter for the majority of decks that people are disgusted with, for lack of a better
I mean,
term.
not majority, literally just one deck. It's actually just one deck. But, it went too well with Standard Zerix Priest. But Vargoth is a card that scales with the power level of any format that it's in. And I get that. And I do think that they released a card that mattered in a very powerful format, and it did powerful, gross things. And in Wild, it's not acceptable. It's not an okay thing. But Barista Linchen, no play. Elysiana, probably no play. What are the other neutral legendaries?
Chef Nomi
Nomi.
and Geppetto Joybuzz.
Okay,
Oh,
so
thank God it wasn't Joybuzz.
if it was Joybuzz, that's not better. That is worse.
Yeah.
I think this was the best one to
Between-
actually matter.
Between the two that would have had an impact, Geppetto and Vargoth, Vargoth was the lesser evil.
Yeah.
That's insane to think of.
Well, and you could have put... So Elysiana costs 8, does not go in Odd Warrior, so would just straight up not see play. Barista, I don't know what Battlecry minions would be copying. It would not see play. And Joybuzz, if it saw play, it would be for evil reasons. So it's kind of nice that a promo card mattered. Just, it mattered in an unhealthy way, like all of Year of the Mammoth. I don't know.
Oh well, it's gone. New decks, new cards,
new everything. So
we should talk about those after the news and decks. All right, so Rise of Shadows here, yay! Announcement on the Play Hearthstone website showing that all of the stuff and the Rising of the Shadows is happening. Kind of gives a rundown of all of the new stuff it has to offer, in addition to a kind of a promotion that they're doing for the first few days of the launch. So there's some legendary quests that were announced that are going to be going on. Right now we're on day 2 of these, but on day 1, if you played 25 cards in play mode, you were rewarded with 1 Rise of Shadows pack and 1 The Witchwood pack. On day 2, which was today, if you just played 5 games in play mode, you get 1 Rise of Shadows pack and 1 Boomsday pack. Tomorrow, if you draw 20 cards, you get Rise and Rosticons. The day after that, if you just win a game, you get a Rise and a Witchwood. And then on day 5 is the big one. You play 100 cards to get 1 Rise of Shadows, 1 Boomsday, 1 Witchwood, and 1 Rosticons pack. And yeah, it's kind of a cool little promotion they have going on here. Everybody's really excited to play all the new stuff, and this kind of just benefits you without having to. You don't have to play any specific class. This is just play the game, get some rewards, get some packs. So I think this is pretty cool. And also it announces that everybody has already gotten their Archmage Vargoth that we were just talking about just for logging in. Year of the Dragon is announced. So much stuff. What do you guys think? Has Rise of Shadows the launch, did it go smoothly for you guys? Were you online basically right when packs were live to be opened? Was it everything smooth?
Yeah, I got on immediately at noon my time, which is when it was going to launch. It took maybe like 2 minutes to get into the client and do everything, but I mean, I was streaming the whole time, so it was really smooth. I was able to open my packs without a problem, so it was a really smooth launch from my perspective.
Which is good. I mean, that's something we were somewhat worried about, is too much lag. So
well, people were talking about like
servers held up.
Is the simultaneous launch a bad idea? But they're all separate servers, and they wouldn't have done this if there wasn't some kind of plan in place and some kind of testing. When was the last time we really had a server issue? That I can't remember one since Frozen Throne, maybe.
Whichever one. I I guess maybe not server issues. The last issues I remember we were talking about the other day,
Oh,
which was when
the
they
ranked ladder
redid the
changes.
ladder.
Yeah,
The ladder changes where they just had to shut
Oh,
down ranked ladder
that
for
was
a day.
that was a meme.
but that
You
was
got one win, just rank 1 legend. From
well. It's so losses would cost you 5 stars, would cost you a whole rank. Yeah, there was a lot going on there, but that was like implementing a new ladder system in February of that year. I can't remember the last time that the expansions got hit so hard. The servers got hit so hard that you couldn't buy packs. It's been a long time. I think it was KFT or maybe Ungoro or maybe even before that. I remember Whispers there were issues, but we're going back a
my
ways.
favorite launch day snafu was during Gadgetzan, whenever everyone just opened the same tri-class cards over and over and over and over again. They were like, yo, my bad, we'll just refund you like 40% of your packs or whatever it was. They just gave you a bunch of extra packs.
Yeah, because there was a post on Reddit saying the tri-class cards they're basically getting the arena bonus where they're appearing 50% more often. And so on Reddit, people were saying don't open your packs till they fix it. And then people that opened all their packs got to keep the cards and got a third of their packs back. It's like, should have opened. Low roll.
Yeah, we basically, the moral of the story is we've had enough launch day snafus for me to have a favorite, and that's my favorite. So us not having an issue this time was really nice.
Well, there was nothing at all. I did not start playing until later in the evening because I was busy still cleaning the house, and boy, it's been something doing KonMari, but also putting on streams on every screen in the house, which is a lot of screens, and just watching and absorbing deck lists constantly.
So are you sweeping the floor and just transitioning from one stream to another while you move from room to room?
So we're doing one room at a time. Is what we're doing for KonMari. So I get to put one thing on that TV. But yes, I did have a couple streams in different rooms so that if I happened to wander in, I could see it was a different stream in each room because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any sweet tech. And I spent I think like 6 hours yesterday just collecting decks, just deck lists, and watching streams.
I saw the screenshot of your browser with like 90 tabs open or whatever it was.
That was today. That was day 2. Day 1, it was worse. It was worse. Yeah, it's but when I logged in at 10 o'clock, not a single issue to be found. Okay. One thing, you did have to log in, log back out, and log back in to get the pop up for your Dust rewards in the cards, the legendary card for the pre-release bundle. I had to log out and log back in to get the pop up, but they were in my collection before I logged out. I just logged in to paste a bunch of decks in before I streamed, and then logged out and logged back in. It's like, oh, the pop up is here, and I got all my Hall of Fame dust, and it was glorious.
Yeah, I didn't know what legendaries I got. I had to like go into my collection and make sure I actually got to. But then I think I logged out and logged back in, and it showed me the ones that I got again.
That was the biggest issue that I had, and that I heard other people having.
Yeah, I got a golden lucent bark, which I kind of want to try to make work.
I hope there's a thing there because that looks sweet. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Let's talk about the rest of the news
real quick. Yeah. There were some new arena rules, which unfortunately I don't know a ton about arena. So most of these seem like fairly standard. It seems like they're just kind of updating them for Rise of Shadows. So all of the new Rise of Shadows cards are going to be appearing more frequently, and just kind of gives a bit more of a granular breakdown of how the arena picks are going, which is actually pretty relevant because they have that bundle that you can buy, which is I think $10 for 9 packs and a free arena run. If you're interested in that. So that's available to you. We have a link in the show notes if you want the specifics on what is changing for arena, and just they also have the following cards that are unavailable, and looks like so they have all the all the standard cards that are usually unavailable, but specifically they're still leaving out the hero cards and anything that obviously rotated. So yeah, that's Arena. Have either of you had a chance to do an arena run? I thought I saw Appa. Did you do a quick arena run?
I drafted. I didn't
Okay.
play yet, but I drafted, and
Is your deck sweet?
It's pretty sweet. I got some Bog Creepers in there, and that card is nice. That was like one of the best cards with 7 mana, 6/8 taunt.
6/8 taunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like one of the best cards in the Whispers of the Old Gods arena. I used to play arena way more back in the day. So getting all these old sets, I'm just like, ooh, all my favorite toys are back. So I'm really excited.
Did Taunt Druid ever play Bog Creeper? That's a big boy.
It wasn't around at the same time. Because it was Whispers, so it rotated when Ungora came out.
Oh, wait. Is Arena not standard right now? It's like weird sets?
Yeah, Arena right now is Whispers, Mean Streets, the new set,
Nax,
Classic, and Nax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, they're doing arena seasons. They're doing arena seasons twice per expansion, I believe, at the launch and halfway point of every expansion, and they're going to change up which sets are legal. So right now it is Classic, Basic, and then Nax, Whispers, MSG, Rise of Shadows, and there's one more. Witchwood. So it's a really interesting collection of cards together, and I hope they keep doing this, and I hope they come up with an arena format that does not have Classic and Basic in it. I'm really hyped for that.
Yeah, Arena's a lot of fun whenever it's not just like the same stuff over and over again. For them, like shaking it up is just a nod to arena only players, because there's actually a surprising amount of those, which I didn't really know about until recently. There's just a big sect of people who only play arena, and they've been wanting a change in the format for a long time. And I mean, it's really cool. I'm excited for it. I need to play my run out, but I'm excited to play with all the old cards.
Sweet. So for those arena people out there, that's some info for you. The last little news item we have here is that there were some bugs with bombs and transform cards. And I guess Sottle said that Raven and I were just playing a game as Warrior against Warlock. We were shuffling bombs, he was shuffling portals, then he played Rafam and proceeded to draw the shuffle bombs and portals with the text removed, which just got stuck in their hand. I don't even know what that means. What? So they drew a bomb that had no text on it?
Yeah, there have been issues with transformations of those cards. This is the first bug I heard about it, and then somebody else told me they're getting transformed now, but the code to reveal a bomb when you draw it is staying on the legendaries that you transform the cards into. So it's still a perfectly playable legendary now. But when you draw it, it just kind of flips over and shows your opponent what it is. So
okay, I also had an interesting thing where my opponent was playing Warlock and they were playing the 4/6 that gains 4 life.
Yes.
And so obviously when they drew it, it revealed itself to me, and then they gained 4 life. It went into their hand, and then they played the shuffle into their deck, and it revealed it to me again and went into their deck. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but it's some weird interactions with cards going from your hand into the deck and then back into your hand. I heard something about cards just being revealed, like when the cards getting drawn that are just revealed to your opponent sometimes if they had been revealed before or something. So interesting stuff. I'm sure these bugs will get fixed in no time. But that's pretty much it for the news. Oh, I guess we have some other interesting news about qualifier length, but we'll talk about that in the tournament section.
And we'll get to that literally right now.
It's the grand tournament!
So I was thinking we were going to cut tournament section, because why would there ever be tournaments? But the joy of the Masters Open qualifier system means we have something to talk about every single week, including a day and a half into the new meta. And there is a very clear tournament meta. It is Rogue and Warrior. No, that's it. That's the meta. Those are the two strategies that have been figured out. There's Warrior, where sometimes you play bombs, but you always play for fatigue. And there's Rogue, where you play Raiding Party, getting 2 pirates and a weapon that we won't talk about right now. And you play Preps, and you probably play Myras, and you probably play Togwaggle. And those are the only decks. There have been 2 qualifiers so far. Qualifier 151, which was the first qualifier, was 5 Warriors and 3 Rogues in the top 8. In the finals, Rogue beat Warrior. The Rogue had Baron, Heist Baron Togwaggle, Myras. It did not have Nomi. It was more aggressive. It has Deadly Poisons, Captain Greenskin, Leroy Jenkins. I believe it plays 1 Shadow Step. It's a very strong deck, very similar to the Myrical Rogues from last Standard, but with not upgrades, but they lost a lot less and they gained some pretty powerful new cards. And the Warrior deck in the finals was a Fatigue Control Warrior. There was not a single card in here that said Shuffle a Bomb, no Dr. Boom, double Hecklebot, 1 Unseen Saboteur, which is the card that casts a spell out of your opponent's hand with random targets, Elysiana in the main deck, and the secondary is Vomit Inducing. It is 2 Baleful Bankers and 2 Youthful Brewmasters, both of which, all 4 of those cards target Elysiana, so that you can refill your deck with 10 cards 5 times. 5.
And we should clarify that the deck does run a Dr. Boom, just not the new one. It runs
Yes.
a hero card.
You're right. Nothing that says bomb, but one thing that says boom. Very important difference. So, full fatigue.
I was very confused when you said that the winning deck didn't have Nomi. I looked at it again. There was a Rogue deck in the top 8 that played Nomi in the main deck.
Yes. And
that was the deck that went 8-0 to get in there, but then ended finishing 5th.
Did not win the tournament. Now for qualifier 152, which was the second qualifier in the new standard, there were 6 Warriors and 2 Rogues, and the Warrior won in the finals. The Warrior was identical. I think like 1 card off overall, but identical to the first day. Bomb Warrior has not made it to the finals of any qualifier, and Fatigue Warrior has made it to the finals. Won once, lost once. And the second place deck was Rogue. It was very similar to the Rogue deck from the day before, except it did play Nomi, and it also played Zodiacs. And in the secondary deck, it plays Lab Recruiter. So you can go Nomi Lab Recruiter after you Myras, and then Nomi 6 times. 6 additional times, in fact, right? 7 times, 7 Nomis. And just fill your board with 6 sixes?
You have to wait a while.
Yes.
Because if you Lab Recruiter, then you have to wait till your deck's empty again. And
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of ways to draw cards after you Myras.
It's a pretty big sacrifice to make 7 sixes 7 times. I agree, Bodicus.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, what I figured, I would have assumed that Shadow Step would have been a better inclusion, because then you can just do it every turn and not have to wait a couple turns.
Well, you can save a charge in your Waggle Pick.
He's teeing you up. He's not taking the bait.
Not yet. We're going to wait on that one. We're going to let this one simmer. It's going to be great.
So anyways, that deck did not win in the finals. It lost to the Fatigue Warrior. And we really need to talk about the deck that plays Elysiana 5 times as a plan in the secondary deck. Because
it's not okay.
Qualifier 152, the one with 6 Warriors and 2 Rogues, which had at least 1 Control Warrior mirror match every single round of the top 8.
Can I say it?
What?
Can I say how long it went on?
Go ahead.
15 hours.
Yep.
15 hours.
And
that's like oh my god.
So
I don't want to tell you guys I told you so when we're talking about the specialist format, but I happen to remember a certain somebody on this cast who said that if a slow warrior deck is ever really good in the meta and you don't have a ban, and you just have to play that matchup up to 3 times in a row, it's going to be pretty miserable. And well, here we are.
Yeah.
Just
Elysiana
control
was
warrior
really
mirrors
for specialist.
Yeah.
Without Elysiana, it would still be not great, but it would be much more manageable.
Yeah, it would be not this. It would be not 15 hours. And imagine just the top 8. After you win as Fatigue Warrior, and you look ahead in the bracket and it's only Warriors, and just like, gee, I wonder what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. Probably play Fatigue Mirrors and bang my head against the desk in between turns. I don't know. It seems like a logistical nightmare. And 15 hours. The original Blizzard rules said plan for 9. We're kind of beyond the pale here a little bit.
Because that's how regular card games function. You have how many rounds of Swiss is it? 8 rounds of Swiss. So regular card games, you have a 50-minute turn timer, and then you'll go into like turns or overtime in some rounds, or in a lot of rounds, because you'll have control mirrors, but usually it'll only go up to a little bit past an hour for each round. So that's like around 9 hours for Swiss, and then you set aside a few hours for top 8, if that, and then the tournaments run efficiently, and it's not completely miserable. But we don't have turn timers, and we have animations, and we have the rope, and we have Elysiana, and we don't have a tournament mode that condenses all these things and fixes the problems. So Specialist is suffering as a result, because I actually really enjoyed the Specialist format. I think it's super interesting in terms of deck building and teching in the sideboard, but going into a control matchup and saying, I'm going to put 2 Brewmasters and 2 Bankers to hit this anti-fatigue card 4 times, and just blunt force my way through, brute force my way through the matchup is super unhealthy. And I've been really wanting to grind open or Masters qualifiers to qualify for Vegas, because Taylor and I are going regardless, and I'd like to be able to play when I go. But I'm just not going to play one if it's going to be 15 hours, because Warrior is one of the best decks right now. And that's just going to happen. Like, this is going to be a problem until they do something about it. They have to address this issue, or it's really going to hurt the competitive structure. Like, there's going to be people who have nothing else to do, who literally only play Hearthstone all day, and they're going to keep grinding these. But for people like me who want to go and compete but value their sanity, they're just not going to play. I know Ray C, he posted on Twitter earlier, he was like, I'm just not going to play in these because I respect myself too much. I'm not going to spend 15 hours and lose in the top 8. Like, I lost in the semifinals of the first one I played, and that only took like 10 hours, and I felt absolutely miserable after. I cannot imagine wasting 15 hours of my life that I will never get back to get 20 packs. It's not okay.
That is slightly over 1 pack per hour. Slightly. Yeah, it's... I don't know if this will be the first ever instance of esports not allowing a card to be played, but there has to be some coordination with the devs, because you have to not have the card get discovered.
Well, they didn't allow Whizbang, so they could just do that.
Whizbang is different because it messes with decklist submission, right? Like, this is an illegal in-game action.
This also messes with decklist submission, because you put 2 Brewmasters and 2 Bankers in a deck, and you submit it, and that's not okay.
But it is not like a literal logistic issue of the tournament being unable to function, or of the player not knowing what class they're playing. This is just a card operating as intended. So I don't know if Blizzard wants this to work the way it does, and will just not take it out of Specialist, or if Blizzard is unhappy with how the games are functioning with it, and they will actually change how the card works. Because you could easily fix this card, right? You instead of replace your deck, it is replace up to 10 cards in your deck, and the card is fixed. immediately fixed. Because it just changes what the cards are, as opposed to gives you new cards. It's the 10-card generation that's the real problem. They could fix how the card functions if they wanted to, if they feel the need to. I don't believe that Warrior is the end-all be-all of the format, but I do believe it is the best specialist deck right now. I mean, it's day 2, we'll see more evolution, but right now the evolution that we're seeing is that the Warrior decks that want to beat the Elysiana plan, you main deck 1 Whirlwind, and you sideboard in Mechathune, Malygos, Boomship, and double Inner Rage, and now you are Mechathune Warrior. And just when you have no cards left in your deck, and only those 6 cards in hand, you Boomship out Mechathune and Malygos. You Inner Rage the Malygos for 6, you Inner Rage the Mechathune for 6, you cast Whirlwind, and you win the game.
Yeah, it's
we'll see what
Warrior
happens.
is very silly in Specialist right now.
Well,
Because it's got like the best control deck, which uses Elysiana the best. It has one of the better plans with Elysiana with double Brewmaster, double Banker, and then you can also just randomly Mechathune people, because it's the only Mechathune deck left standing after rotation.
Hey,
But
quick question. I'm looking through these lists, and it's these Warrior lists, they seem to be missing something in these sideboards. I just can't quite put my finger on it. If there's a card that you said would be really good in Warrior Mirrors to just win the mirror, something that we might have talked about a few times on the podcast. I just don't seem to see it anywhere in any of these lists. What do you think's going on with that?
wait, hold on. I know I'm gonna stop you there because I also have an observation. All of these rogue decks are running a card that wasn't supposed to be playable or very good.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Hey, Hat, if you were to pick a card that if you were a dog and you saw it, your tail might wag very quickly when you looked at it. Maybe if you were like stuck in a cave and you needed a way to get out of the cave to, remove some things that were in your way.
I would
so
die.
That you could step
I would
out
accept
of
the sweet embrace of
shadows.
death.
Are you picking up what I'm putting down, Hat?
It's Waggle Pick. The meme is Waggle Pick.
Yeah, no, we got it. No, we got it. We understand. We
That
know
last
what's happening.
one works on multiple levels. Did you get that one?
Oh no, I got all the
Pick.
levels. I got all of them.
You know what doesn't work on multiple levels? Dr. Boom's scheme, because on any level it's still garbage. Got him.
Got him. I love you, Hat. I'm sorry that I'm subjecting you to this.
I'm gonna go.
We still have to remember, for every card that I've gotten right, you can always just remember that I disenchanted Sunkeeper Terram. Just always remember that I disenchanted Sunkeeper Terram, and it doesn't matter how many cards I got right, because that card's probably one of the best cards ever printed in the game, so...
It happens. You sure know how to pick them.
Yep.
So I'm gonna finish the tournament section now. Okay, is that all right? Are we done? Are done memeing?
That's fine. We're
done?
done. I'm done.
You sure? I can wait.
We're not
Nope,
done.
I'm
We'll have
done.
more later.
Yeah,
How
maybe.
long can this go on?
I got that locked and loaded. All right. So, anyways, point here is we're not sure what Blizzard's gonna do, but there needs to be some kind of intervention here because a 15-hour tournament is not realistic, and there are tournaments that start at 5 o'clock Eastern time in the America server, which means they end at 8 in the morning. 8 in the morning. So I feel fairly confident that Blizzard will do something to either adjust the card or remove it from a play environment. They do have to remove it from Discover effects as well, assuming that esports coordinates with dev. But it's just not sustainable, and it's really obvious in a really clear way. And I hope that action is taken quickly. Coming up soon, we do have more Masters qualifiers coming. I expect that more decks beyond Rogue and Warrior will start to pop up. They were 2 of the easier strategies to figure out right away. But they're also very good. We have WCG qualifier starting on April 21st, and Worlds is on April 25th. It's getting to the point where the players for Worlds who are testing are actually conceding when they're playing against streamers because they don't want their tech to be revealed. Pretty awesome. Pretty rad.
Frodan had a really good tweet about this. He said he was doing like a fake interview, basically, on Twitter, and he was saying, "All right, competitor, how did you keep your super secret strategy away from everybody?" And I forget exactly how it went, but it was basically along the lines of I conceded to the popular streamers so nobody could see that I was playing Togwaggle on turn 6. Because everybody's just going to play Togwaggle Rogue anyways, because the deck's insane. But yeah, I think that's actually a really cool thing that's happening, is there's a little bit of secrecy going on, which I liked in Magic whenever I was playing that. Whenever you'd see pros like testing for upcoming tournaments, they would be like on alternate accounts on Magic Online, and they would try and like go to great lengths to like keep their tech secret and like away from the other teams that were testing. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I found this tweet. Tens of decks vetted via spreadsheets and calculation, hundreds of prep hours hiding decks from streams, thousands of hours playing cups, qualifiers, and championships, 10,000s of competitors defeated to get to Worlds. TJ asks, congrats, how did you do it? The player says, well, I just cast Togwaggle on 6. So, yeah. It's, I do think that it will evolve past Togwaggle on 6, but this is hilarious. So, we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to the cool tech. And Concede will be starting a new listener series pretty soon. We're not sure exactly when. We're going to let the meta shake out, but we will be having both specialist and maybe other formats at some point during the expansion cycle for Rise of Shadows. And that is it.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, to everyone who's listening, who's going to play in the Concede Not League, the one that's specialist, can we all just have an agreement to not play Archivist Elysiana in Control? Can we just not play Control Warrior? Because I don't want to sit there for hours playing one match.
I feel confident that the environment of the free not league for nothing will be a little bit less grindy, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. The real dream, Appa, is that can we all as a group brainstorm decks that make Control Warrior not win? That's the dream.
I'm trying real hard. I've jammed all of the value into Shaman that I can, and I still can't get there.
There's some good stuff out there, Appa. In fact, why don't we talk about it now?
All right, how are we doing this? How are we formatting this one? Are we just going question by question? Roundtabling it?
So I think that going question by question, kind of segueing smoothly between them is going to be the way to go. Because a lot of these questions go together, and we can just kind of go around. I imagine it'll be a fairly organic conversation, because we all want to talk about this new amazing meta.
All right, let's just get into it then. So first up, we're going to talk about decks. So what decks have you enjoyed playing the most? Let's start with you, Had, because you have a problem. And we need to have an intervention here. We need to talk about all of the decks you've been playing with.
I can quit anytime I want, but all I'm
These
saying...
are decisions.
All I'm saying is, since the start of the expansion release, I have collected 79 deck lists. And it's pretty great, because there's a lot of stuff out there. I've played every class except Paladin, because I am currently reveling in the fact that when I play against the Secret Paladin deck on ladder, once I make them run out of the cards in their hand, they don't get more. That's just it. That's all they have. And then they lose.
Man. I'm so happy when my opponent starts playing secrets and just random garbage from their deck. The single only time I've lost to a Secret Paladin is when they had a board full of mediocre nonsense, and I had a Hecklebot that lined up good against the board, and I played it, and Tyrion Fordring came flying out of their deck onto the board, and I did not win.
Oh, man.
Seems solid. That seems like
I did that on stream, and it was a good one. It was a meme and a half.
Do you know
other than that, I've smashed that deck.
But do you know what your opponent did? They put their faith in the light, is what they did, Appa. And it was well-founded.
But they weren't playing light well.
No. Put your faith, not put bad cards in the light. I don't know.
No, you said put your faith in the light, and it was well founded. Light. Well, okay. Let's move on.
If you think that's that's an interesting thing to pull from your deck, I'm trying to see what the name of this warrior card is.
Boom
'Cause
Reaver?
I had it played against me yesterday, and I believe Hat was in the stream when this happened. It costs 10 mana, and it pulls a
The
copy.
Boom Reaver.
No, it's
No?
a spell.
Dimensional Ripper?
Yes. So
Yeah.
you get 2 copies. I wanted to read it. It's not even here. Okay. So it pulls 2 copies of a minion from their deck, and it's copies. And so it pulled 2 Vargoths. And those 2 Vargoths pulled 2 Groms and 2 Deathwings.
That did happen. I do remember this now. It was...
And the worst part is I realized afterwards that I could have cleared the whole board.
Yep.
I probably could have won that game.
It's...
If I had just played Zul Jin, but I didn't, and I lost. And I
you know what's
deserved
harder
to lose because that was insane.
You know what's harder to beat than literal 60 mana worth of minions? Misplays. Misplays are much harder to beat. And
Speaking of your opponent summoning lots of things, Hat was in my stream earlier, and what was it? It was the Khadgar mage I was playing against.
oh yeah.
And this was just disgusting. They played Khadgar, and then they played. Sorry, I have the visual spoiler pulled up in front of me. They played Khadgar and Power of Creation, and they hit Argent Commander and said 16 you. And I said, I can't deal with those.
Yes.
And then they proceeded to like 32 me over the next 2 turns because I Witch's Brood twice.
Yes. The amount of frequent flyer miles collected on Northrend Airlines was significant that day. There were many because they kept going to Northrend. And Mage, I'm glad you made that segue. That is the deck I have enjoyed the most, or rather the class I've enjoyed the most, and also the one I've played the most of. I have played a lot of Khadgar Mages. I have played a bit of Freeze Mage, which doesn't play Khadgar but does play Kaligos. And I will tell you that when you go Kaligos Flame Strike, that's a turn.
It feels so good.
It's insane.
PSA, what's not a turn is Coin
Kaligos. Do not do that.
Then you can't do anything. That's your spell for the turn.
Yes.
That one was free.
Yeah, can't do that. And so, the decks I've enjoyed the most, I've really liked the various Conjurer's Calling decks. Have been the ones I've enjoyed the most with Khadgar. Khadgar Mirror Image is great. Khadgar Conjurer's Calling is disgusting. And I won a really sweet game against a Bomb Warrior that had me down to... I think they got me down to 3 life, and I had to Conjurer's Calling my Rotten Apple Bomb. But then I Conjurer's Calling an Astromancered 8-drop and got Dr. Morgan. And my opponent killed the Dr. Morgan and gave me an Antonitis. And I had Ray of Frost and 9 cards in hand. So I played 2 Rays of Frost, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm not drawing bombs anymore for the rest of the game. And then they died to fireballs. Because I just never drew a card the rest of the game. So
that's fantastic.
It was awesome. But also, I've been playing a little bit of Spell Damage Mage by Gundam Flame. And this, it has Mana Reservoir, Blood Mage Thalnos. It's got Spell Shifter, Spell Zerker. And then you've got Arcane Watcher, which is the 3 mana 5/6 that can only attack if you have spell damage. And Arcane Missiles, and Shooting Stars, and Cinderstorms, and Unexpected Results, and the curve tops out at 4. That's the most expensive card in the deck, is Unexpected Results. And it has been...
It does not play Magic Dark Frog.
No, that card's bad. That card's terrible.
You don't like that.
That card is actively bad because you're already really good at clearing the board, and against a control warrior, you play a 2 mana 1/3, and they're like, you got anything else? Because that my hero power heals me for more than that does to me. And it's just a 1/3, so it's bad. But the Spell Damage Mage by Gundam Flame, it's really, really good. Like, surprisingly good. Like, beating warriors and rogues with it. I was really, really surprised and impressed by how well it played. Those have been the decks that I've enjoyed the most and won the most with. The only other deck that I would really recommend right now, especially if you want to beat Hunter, is any variation of Death Rattle Mech Hunter. I've played Firebat's version and SE2 Forever's version, and I will tell you, when you go turn 3 Ursatron, which is a 3-mana 3/3 mech that when it dies it draws a mech, and then you slap a Replicating Menace on top of it, which is the 3/1 magnetic, that when it dies you get 3 1/1s, and they're mechs, and then your opponent trades into it with Wrench Caliber and a 1/3, and then you just slap a War Gear on the 1/1s left over, and you just go to town, and followed up with Necro Mechanic, which is the 5-mana 3/6 that makes your death rattles twice, into a Mechanical Whelp Coin Fireworks tech. I have 2 7/7s, and if you kill my 3/3, I get 2 more 7/7s. They concede. They lose that game.
So this version sounds like kind of a more magnetic kill you version, and
yes.
It doesn't play Zul'jin, does it?
It does play Zul'jin. It plays 2 Unleash the Beast, 2 9 lives, and Oblivitron. So you have the high end, but you also are a mid-range deck. And you just play big minions that are really annoying to kill. And you have your entire deck is just filled with Blessing of Kings that you can play on empty boards.
It doesn't play safes though, right?
No safes. Nope.
Okay.
So Firebat
I've
took
been
this to
playing-
top 10 legend, but I was seeing SE2 Forever's build, which I think you were trying out, and I think you had pretty good results with it too.
Yeah, that's probably the deck I've enjoyed the most, other than the mage deck. SC2, I was spectating him when I was taking a quick break while I was streaming, and I really liked what was going on in the deck. And Oblivitron is surprisingly does some crazy things if set up correctly, and it also plays the safe, the 6-mana 4/5 taunt that makes an 0/5 taunt when it dies, and you just put up this wall that's very hard for your opponent to break through, and it was doing some good work. There's definitely some cards in there that I want to mess around with. Like, he had a couple trackings in there initially, which it might just be I might be overvaluing how much losing those 2 cards sucked, or losing 2 cards sucked, but the deck feels so synergistic that sometimes when you lose a couple cards, it feels like the deck doesn't function quite as well. And also fatigue becomes a really big factor when you're playing Zul'jin and you've played 1 or 2 trackings. Just the rest of your deck kind of melts away, and it can be kind of hard to if it feels like a deck that can go into the fatigue type matchups and just still have a lot of value. So I've been trying out a few different changes. I'm interested in this version that Hat's been talking about. Maybe I can do kind of a mix of both. But was your list playing Vargoth? Because Vargoth plus Unleash the Beast is very good, and also Vargoth plus 9 lives is nuts.
So this list doesn't have Vargoth. I do like him, but the only 2 spells in the list are 2 copies of 9 lives and 2 copies of Unleash. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's just not enough going on in there. Oh, but the list does play Safeguard. I missed it in the list. It does have Safeguards in it.
Okay, yeah, because that's a really good pull off of Oblivitron.
Yes.
Sometimes with 9 lives too, just being able to stabilize a little bit. And also my version was playing a Deadly Shot for a little bit extra things to do with Vargoth. Just a few extra little spells that work quite well with him. So
makes Zul'jin
just lots to try out.
Makes Zul'jin even better, and he's already super gross. And every single time that I 9 lives a Spider Bomb, I feel like I can't ever lose the game. I feel like I just cannot ever lose. It's just the amount of value and removal that you generate.
You mean Deadly Shot? Draw another minion with Deadly Shot attached?
Yes.
Good?
Yep. And this list is playing Venomizer, which is also just another Toxfin or whatever. It's so easy to kill stuff. So easy to kill stuff. And as long as you get into the late game, the amount of value and stickiness that your minions have is really difficult for a deck like Warrior to deal with. The only other deck that I'd say I've been enjoying and having pretty good results with is, I guess I'd call it mid-range value Shaman. And there are a bunch of different builds. This has not been confirmed at all. Like, there's no clear, cohesive strategy to it. But the things that I know I want to do are include Thunderhead, Hagatha 1, Hagatha 2, Walking Fountain, and Shutterwalk. I want to play all those cards. Everything else can be whatever. but I want to
All
make sure I
of the
include those
Murloc
cards.
that makes a lackey too, right?
Sludge
That's in
Slurper is
almost
is in every single shaman
basically
deck I'm
every
making
list
for the
that
next 2 years.
yeah, because it's real good with Thunderhead, real good with Shutterwalk, real good with Hagatha.
It's
Real
just
good
Turns
with
on your lickums.
it's just
yeah.
Firefly, except the second minion does something busted sometimes, and nobody else gets to play
By
Firefly.
the way, just lackeys have felt really good.
Yeah.
It feels like you just want cards in your deck that make lackeys in the majority of decks that I've played.
Yeah, Token Druid is playing Evil Cable Rat because it's just 3 mana, 2 bodies, and do lackey stuff.
Yes, so I'm going to skip ahead by a lot of questions for the card I underrated, because a couple episodes ago I was talking about how I thought people were overrating Togwaggle because you have to put weak cards in your deck that give you lackeys. Turns out lackeys are just insane, and I undervalued those a lot. So you're just okay having those in the deck without Togwaggle. So whenever you spike Togwaggle, you're just like, game's over, nerd. Make 2 Deathwings. Your turn.
just all of them are so good, and like there's the one that makes a 2-drop that is really good in a lot of decks where
Oh
you need
man,
some
that
board
one's insane.
presence. Sometimes
Whenever I was playing earlier, I was playing against Zoo with Shaman with the Sludge Slurper in it, and I got the 1 mana deal 2 twice. And I was like, game's over. I got a Firefly that like SI'd your 2. It hit a Direwolf and a Knife Juggler from just a 1 mana 2/1. It just gave me
That's
2 of those. It was insane.
that's gross. It's not okay. So, okay. Appa, what have you enjoyed the most and won the most with?
So I've won the most with Rogue. I've played multiple different Rogue decks. I played the flavor with Chef Nomi in it. I've played the flavor without that. I played without Myra's. I played with Myra's. By the way, I think Myra's is just the better version. I think we're gonna slowly come to that conclusion in the next few weeks, because Myra's is an obscenely messed up card. That card is insane. Put it in your Rogue decks. If you don't have it in there, put it in. Won the most with Rogue. I got up to rank 3 with a combination of Rogue and Dragon Shaman, which is my own deck that I'm messing around with. But surprisingly, what I've enjoyed playing the most has not been a Shaman deck. It's actually been Handlock. And I was playing Dog's Handlock list, and let me pull up the list right here. It's got
good.
It's got Ancient
Really good.
Watchers, Arcane Watcher, which Hat was talking about in his spell damage mage list. So 3 mana 5/6, can only attack if you have spell damage. You don't really care, because you have Sunfury Protectors to taunt it up, you have Defender of Argus to taunt it up, you have Spellbreaker. It has Sunreaver War Mage in here, which is a card I didn't even really pay attention to, because before we did the set review, I kind of just glossed over a lot of the cards and picked out the ones that stood out to me. But Sunreaver War Mage is bananas. It's the 5 mana 4/4 neutral rare with Battlecry. If you're holding a spell that costs 5 or more, you deal 4 damage to anything. Minion, face, doesn't matter. And this deck plays 2 Twisting Nethers and 2 Siphon Souls to really turn that on. But the thing I enjoy the most about Handlock, and I tweeted about this after I played the game, I played a game with Handlock where I got to win a game as Jiraxis, Lord Jiraxis, not Mechith Jiraxis. I played Lord Jiraxis and just started making 6/6s against Control Mage. My opponent played a Ragnaros, and I still just crushed him. And it felt like 2014 again. It felt like playing against old grindy Control Mage as just really old Handlock. And man, that deck is fun. I really, really enjoyed Even Warlock. I didn't play a ton of Handlock back in the day when it was really good, but I played a lot of Even Warlock, and this feels really similar because it played similar to Handlock, and it's just a lot of fun. I'll probably go back to playing more of this after I finish my little tour of the different decks I'm trying out. But Handlock's a lot of fun right now. I like it a lot.
Yeah, Sunreaver War Mage. That's been in a few of the decks I've played. I played it in that the Blastoise Mage, which I know Appa had some choice words about naming decks after players.
All right. So, little aside here. So, especially on the first week of an expansion. So, I like the fact that it's called Blastoise Mage because that's one of my favorite Pokemons, and Blastoise is awesome. And also, all of the cards are blue, so it reminds me of a little Blastoise. But can we stop naming decks after people? Because it's so confusing and hard to keep up with, and it makes no sense aside from like this person put this combination of cards together and had a reasonable rank. That's it. Like if you okay. So one of the most well-known examples I can think of is a deck called Gunther Mage. And this was back when Ungoro came out. And what it was literally just Burn Mage. It was just mana worms, ice blocks, burn spells. But
Okay,
it's
hold
called
on a
Gunther.
second. We are dramatically oversimplifying what that deck was. That deck played a 3-mana 2/2 that drew you another card. It was weird, and it was...
We moved from that to Acolyte real quick.
Okay, but...
We streamlined it.
But the original build was a bizarre mid-range deck with a burn top end. And then Vicious Syndicate...
This is my point. This is where I'm going. Whenever we transition from that into just the regular Burn Mage, we still called it Gunther Mage. And
Vicious Syndicate called it Burn Mage.
Sense.
They called it Burn Mage. I mean, we don't get to decide what names stick. It was Gunther Mage because it was super weird, and Dog wanted to make sure the guy who made it got credit, because it was so off the wall and strange and didn't look like the cards made any sense. But then Vicious Syndicate was like, no, this is a burn deck. You go face with it all the time. We're calling their refined version Burn Mage. They put it on their data tables as Burn Mage, and it started to get there. But
didn't it play Meteor too?
Yes.
Yeah, it just like
Meteor.
It curved up from like 1 to 6, and then had Antonidas, Alex draws a Pyroblast.
Yeah, well, and Medivh. It didn't
yeah,
even
and
have
Medivh.
Antonidas, I don't think, or at least the first build might have, because the first build was unrefined. It was a good strategy, but it was weird. But it topped off with your dream curve was turn 3 Ice Block, wait a while, don't die, then turn 8 Medivh, turn 9 Alex Drowser, turn 10 Pyroblast, and you won all those games. But it ended up being a burn deck.
Firelands Portal. That was also a gross card. That card was gross.
Anyways, my point is, let's just call things by the archetypes, because it's way less confusing. Because I was watching Bodica's stream last night, and he's like, let's play some Blastoise Mage. And I said, what the hell did you just say to me? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was just doing as Dog was doing, because Dog was playing that mage deck and called it Blastoise's mage deck. And so I just called it the same thing,
It's all
because
Dog's
that's
fault.
the creator.
Well, no, hold on. There's a difference between Blastoise Mage and Blastoise's Mage. If he said, let's play Blastoise's Mage deck, and you said, let's play some Blastoise Mage, that's a change. That's a different thing. Because one of those decks...
Sucks to be you if you're confused, because I'm calling it Blastoise.
The point here is,
I think it's sweet.
This is the least relevant aside that we've ever had in the show, and that says a lot about a lot of things. So anyway,
I've just never liked calling decks by the people who created it. I get crediting people, but it just always makes so much more sense to me to call something like Burn Mage or Khadgar Value Mage, which is what Blastoise Mage actually is. It's like if we took like Pheno was like the best Quest Rogue player in the world, if we just started calling it Pheno Rogue, it's like, okay, he hit rank 1 legend with it a million times, but this makes no sense. Just call it Quest Rogue. But yeah, it's miniature, very, very small thing that I was thinking about earlier today, and I'm like, man, it's just, oof.
So speaking of Gunther Mage, this War Mage card is basically like a Firelands Portal that costs 2 less. It's
really good, and every single person that was watching my stream yesterday, I would play it. It was in like 6 different lists that I was trying out, and then I played it and I domed the other person. And they were like, "It goes face?" Because it does. It's a 5-mana 4/4. If you're holding a spell that costs 5 or more, it deals 4 damage to whatever you want, not just a minion. It goes face. So it's defensive, and it's proactive, and it's neutral. It's real good. It's really, really good. It's a really powerful card.
All right, so before we get too off the rails, That's my fault. Sorry. Let's see. What decks have you lost against the most? Let's start with you, Bodigus.
For me, it's actually been Bomb Warrior, and I think it's
Oh, you mean
because
Possessy Warrior?
What?
Possessy Warrior. You know, the player that hit rank 1 legend with the bombs in his...
For those of you listening to the show, Abba just took his headset off and walked away from the desk.
Oh, man.
And is now laying on his couch contemplating life. So, yeah, I think for a while I was playing Zoo, and I was playing a lot of decks that were drawing through the majority of their deck. And so the bombs were dealing a lot of damage to me. And one thing I've noticed is there's just not as much life. It doesn't feel like there's as much life gain as there was before. You pretty much have Ziliax, which, by the way, is in pretty much every single deck and will be until it gets nerfed into the ground, because that card is really annoying and really busted. And so I was dying to bombs, and that happens. But Warrior is really good. I like the bomb package I've actually been playing a bit of Bomb Warrior, and I like the bomb package for the most part, but I can also see why the controlling versions that don't have the bomb package in it are also quite good. So mostly been losing to Warrior. So it is what it is. It's a very strong deck, but it's early, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of things you can do to make the bombs maybe not matter as much, because the minions are not nearly as formidable as some of the other decks. What about you, Hat?
So, well, here's the question. What have you played against the most? Is it also Bomb Warrior?
Lots of probably Bomb Warrior. I've seen a lot of it. I've seen a lot of Bomb Warrior. I think it's just a mix of the deck is playable and pretty good, just because Warrior's pretty good, and just people want to play. People think that bombs are really exciting. We're very excited to play the deck, and it's also pretty good. So I think that mix causes me to be playing against it a ton at around rank 4 or 5. So I don't know. You can take that for what it is, but I don't see almost any Bomb Warrior when I'm watching the higher legend streamers. So it might just be where I'm at in ladder.
Yeah, I think the Bomb Warrior... So, I have played 37 matches of Hearthstone since the expansion came out. And 13 of those were against Warrior. I think it is by far the most represented class. There's some things you can do with it that are kind of mid-rangey and kind of tempo. You can play Countess Ashmore. You can play a rush build. I do think there is relevance to that, but most of it is some kind of control strategy. And the control strategies, some of them are more fatigue-based, but a lot of them are shuffling in bombs. I will say that I think the deck I lost the most to was Bomb Warrior when I played the Mirror. I did not have any luck playing Bomb Warrior yesterday because I just had a hand of Wrench Calibers and upgrades, and then I attacked for 3 times, and then it's like, okay, what do I do now? And my opponent didn't draw any bombs. And when I played the Mirror match, they went Wrench Caliber into Augmented Elec, into Clockwork Goblin, into Dr. Boom for a full board, and I was at 1 the next turn. So, Dr. Boom, by the way, Blastmaster Boom, that card good. That card real good.
Yeah, that card, as long as you can put cards that put bombs into your opponent's deck in your deck, that card is very good. And just
yeah.
Like I don't know if you've had this happen to you before, but they play the Wrench Caliber, they attack you, and then the next turn they go Augmented Elec, attack you with Wrench Caliber, and then double Clockwork Goblin, and all of a sudden you have 30 damage just waiting in your deck. Well, 35 damage just waiting in your deck. And like it might not get there, but you're on a clock. Like it's it can get scary. I'm not saying it's great because it is still day one. It's still very early, but it's really scary when you just know you have 30 damage waiting to get dealt to you in your deck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the version with Augmented Alec is the spooky one because Stampy comes flying overhead like a B2 bomber. He makes a strafing run, drops
Yeah.
some bombs into your deck.
And also, Alec is just a good on curve play. A 3-mana 3/4 is just a solid inclusion against a lot of decks.
Unless
and
your opponent has Waggle Pick or Vendetta, and then you're like,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
dang.
interesting.
Or Wing Blast, or Wing Blast, or other removal spells. Either way, yes, the 3/4 is a good card.
Speaking of Augmented Alec, I was gonna segue real quick into what I've lost to the most.
What's that?
Which is Rogue, but not the Rogue that you think. Not Tempo Rogue. Because whenever the expansion came out, I put 2 Walking Fountains, both Hagathas, and Shutterwalk in my deck, and filled the rest out with grindy cards. And I queued up into Academic Espionage Rogue 4 times. Could not win. 0% to win those games. So I said, nope, no mas. Change it to something else.
Please tell me they attacked you. They got the tack into academic espionage against you once, or did that not happen? The guy that when you shuffle cards into your deck, you get copies in your hand.
Yeah, that happened.
Oh.
It was one person actually Geppettoed into that. So they had a 1-mana 1 and then espionage, and I'm like, what is your deck? It's anti-Appa. It says anti-Appa Rogue. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
so
Apple,
lost
but
to
that makes
one.
me unbelievably happy.
Yeah, I've lost to that one a lot. I'm looking at my stats right now, and my tracked stats via HS Deck Tracker. I'm 31 and 31 overall. My most played class versus is Rogue with 15 games. I'm 9 and 6 against it. I'm actually 0 and 5 against Shaman, and 6 and 4 against Warrior. So my worst record is against Shaman. Most losses overall is against Rogue. 4 of those being Academic Espionage. Can't possibly ever win Rogue. And then the Warriors are all Bomb Warriors, like the control Warrior decks. Some of them all in on bomb, some of them fatigue with a few bomb cards.
By the way, Omega Devastator is a messed up card. That card does so much work. I was playing against a Resurrect Priest that resurrected 3 minions with 12 health, and I just went Omega Devastator, or I went Discover an Omega Devastator, and then Omega Devastator, trade, and then they buffed something up to 32 health, but because there's no Shadow Visions, they didn't have an Inner Fire for a couple turns, and eventually I played a 3rd Omega Devastator and just eventually killed their 32
so what
health
you're telling
minion.
me is that a Chillwind Yeti that you can discover that has a Pyroblast attached to it for a minion is good.
Yeah. And also that thing has rush because you play Dr. Boom Mad Genius, and also, by the way, give it the lackey that evolves one of your minions is really good in Warrior because you just play a big mech and you rush it into something to value trade and then evolve it. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it does so much work.
Yeah, and I think if it wasn't for its presence, if it wasn't for just the volume that we're seeing it, I think we'd all be like, these mech bomb warrior decks are super cool. I think that we'd be all about what that deck is doing, and that deck would be like the cute tier 4 meme of last week. And right now it's the most oppressive thing that we have, which is a good spot to be in, even though the games take a little while. But outside
it definitely does
yeah.
feel beatable. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel oppressive yet. It feels very popular and it feels very good, but it does not feel
No.
Yeah, it feels like
just
it's
grindy.
the strongest, just like most well-rounded deck right now in terms of what we have access to, which I mean, I'm okay with that.
So, beyond the Bomb Warrior, what is the coolest deck you've seen so far? What is the deck that you were like, I want to do that, that's awesome?
For me, it was actually Zoo Warlock that played the Imp scheme. What is that?
Ooh, Reform Scheme.
Reform scheme. And I cleared their board. I was like, ha, I got this. They went Knife Juggler, Reform scheme, and they're like, I was like, oh, I lose now. Yeah, so I tried to play that afterwards, and I think that the Magic Carpet versions of Zoo are just better, but the schemes, with the exception of a specific one that I will not name, have all actually looked really good whenever I've seen them.
Yeah, Hagatha Scheme. I thought that card was great, and it's even better than I thought. When you have it in your mulligan, it's bananas, because it's like, a lot of the time it's just a straight up better Volcano, because what Volcano would do would either kill one big minion, or kill a lot of small minions, or kill 2 or 3 medium-sized minions. And then you would be overloaded for 2 next turn, which usually wouldn't be too big of a problem, but it was annoying. And it would end there. After you got to multiple big minions, you'd start getting in trouble, which was why the Shutterwalk versus Even Warlock matchup was so bad, because you couldn't deal with like multiple mountain giants. But if you just keep Hagatha Scheme in your opener, it scales so quickly. Like, I've had schemes for like deal 12, 13 damage just to like, I killed like 2 Deathwings earlier with just a 5 mana card. It's just like, all right, cute Deathwings, kill your board. Is the game over yet? No? Shutterwalk you, and then they conceded. But, and even the worst case scenario, so the absolute worst case scenario with Haggis' scheme is draw it off the top, it's a 5 mana whirlwind. But anything past that is serviceable to amazing, because 5 mana deal 2 to everything is fine. It's like a consecrate, but it hits everything. And then I was thinking about this earlier, and if it's upgraded twice, which is like very close to bare minimum, it's an Excavated Evil. That's insane. Excavated Evil is bananas, and it has a drawback, and then it just scales up from there. I knew Hagatha Scheme would be good, but it's performed. It's really surpassed my expectations for it.
Yeah, and Shaman, I think in general, has been really cool and interesting. And we're talking about cards a lot. I know that we're kind of jumping around here a little bit, but I will say, every single time my opponent's played a Walking Fountain, I'm like, yeah, I lose. And every single time my opponent's played an Alakir, I say, man, I'm glad there wasn't a Walking Fountain, because I would have lost. The Fountain is so gross, and Shaman has been so interesting. There's a Japanese player named Satellite that posted 2 mid-range lists that both have double Hagatha, Walking Fountain, Shutterwalk, except one of them is also a Murloc deck. So it's a mid-range Murloc, because it only plays, just basically playing Underbelly Angler, Toxfin, and enough stuff to enable those, with Bog Slosher, with Murloc Tasty Fin, and then with Thunderhead, and then nothing above 4 mana except Hagatha, Shutterwalk. So, pretty solid with value, and I played the goofiest possible game on stream with it last night. It took like 20 minutes, but you just never run out of stuff. Just constantly don't run out of stuff, and I definitely overrated Soul of the Murloc, because Warpath is a messed up card that is actually seeing play now, because Baku was holding down that card for a year somehow.
Hashtag, I was right.
And you can play so many different builds of value Shaman, as long as the top of your deck has the value cards. And that's really cool. So, I've liked that, but the coolest deck I played against was the second deck I played against the entire expansion. Was a Death Rattle Priest, where I was playing Zoo, and my opponent played the following cards: Forbidden Word, Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Death. But then on turn 5, they had a Convincing Infiltrator, which is the 5 mana 2/6 that when it dies, it deadly shot something, and it has taunt. And they played that and cast Vivid Nightmare on it against my Zoo deck. And that was real good. And then when they played their Safeguard, that was real good. And when they played their Xerix Cloning Gallery, they got an Infiltrator, they got a Coffin Crasher, they got a Zilliax, they got a Mechanical Whelp, they got an Undertaker, and they got a Cairn. The value was absurd.
Oh, I remember this game, and you're just like, "What is going on?"
I was just like, well, we're instantly dead. We immediately lose, but that was awesome. When my opponent casts Vivid Nightmare and Convinciltrator, which is what I'm calling that card, then I just lose. Just my deck of minions cannot beat that card that kills like 4 minions.
Man, that sounds awesome.
It was the most exciting half of second when I saw them play Zarek's Cloning Gallery, and I'm like, what is gonna come out of this? I have no idea. And then just all of these random cards came out. There was safes and mechanical whelps and a cairn for some reason. I don't know. It has a death rattle, I guess.
It does.
9 mana, throw up a bunch of value onto the board.
Well, and
That's
if you ever
the most fair use of Cloning Gallery I've ever heard of.
If you ever Coffin Crasher and then they trade into it and it gives you a cairn, like the value has layers, like a cake. Like it just keeps going. It's just if you ever tried to kill a minion and it's a Coffin Crasher with a cairn inside, you're not killing any of that. It just.
I remember when you were like, "I am not looking forward to what comes out of this Coffin Crasher.
No,
I have no idea what it's gonna be, but it's not gonna be good for me."
It wasn't. It was a safeguard against my zoo deck. So
the Earth Mother was upon you that day.
So I lost. That's what happened. Is I lost. I lost that game, and I was like, that was sweet. And then my opponent cast Mass Res the next turn, getting back Cairn and Ziliax and the 2/2 that copies a Death Rattle. And Cairn and Ziliax was actually enough by itself, believe it or not. That was enough to beat me. On top of the Safeguard, the Mechanical Whelp. You know. So that was rad. That was super cool. Best loss ever. And I haven't seen it since, and I don't know if that deck is any good, but I do know that it beat the piss out of me. So, I don't know. Did you guys see any other cool decks that we want to talk about?
Aside from getting absolutely brutalized by Academic Espionage Rogue over and over again, I think the coolest deck I've seen was the grindy Khadgar Mage that Bodicus was playing. That deck looks really cool. It doesn't seem like particularly great, but it's got a lot of cool stuff going on. And yeah, that's something I'd want to try, mostly just for fun. But yeah, that's something I'm looking at. I need to look at Hearthstone top decks and check out some of the lists on there, because usually what I do at the start of an expansion is just like go super deep on deck building, like on my own, and just like block out all the other lists that people are playing with. And I've gone super hard on Shaman and built a bunch of decks there, so I feel like I've really explored a lot of the synergies within the class. I'm going to try out that mid-range Murloc deck with the Fountains and the double Hagathas and all that stuff. But aside from that, after day 1 and day 2, from then on, now it's just going to be me testing a bunch of public deck lists and seeing what's cool and what's not. So I haven't really gotten a chance to see what all the interesting stuff people are doing is. So I'm excited to check some of that out. But the coolest I've seen so far was.
Do you need deck lists? I got some. I got some deck lists.
You got any more of those deck lists?
I got like super ranched by a Miracle Mage that was doing the Living Cyclone thing, and they just played 5 spells in a turn with a Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then discounted their next elemental and played a Living Cyclone and drew a bunch of cards, and I could not keep up with that value. I've played a little bit of my version of it, and maybe my version's too far off of the norm, but it feels very finicky if you don't draw Mana Cyclone or Living Cyclone, whatever it is.
Speaking of playing 5 cards in a turn, I played against a Tempo Rogue earlier today, or it may have been last night. I think it was today, but they played, what's the name of the card? It's the 2-drop that gets +1/+1 in Rush if you're holding a card.
Underbelly Fence. Right? Yep. Yeah. The rogue card.
They played Underbelly Fence on turn 2, and then they went Shadow Step, Underbelly Fence, Shadow Step, Underbelly Fence, Edwin, and they had a 12/12 Edwin, and I had the one of Urshock in my deck, and I said, "Zap!" They lost the game.
Yeah, Edwin.
That was a good
Edwin's been making a big appearance in a lot of decks lately. Card is pretty good when you have a lot of cards that are cheap and preparation still discounts by 3 for some reason.
Yeah, preparation's messed up. So what deck did we all try that just did not work? How about you, Bodikus? Because I saw you were going deep in the brew tank last night before I left your stream.
What was I trying to brew at the end?
I don't remember. Man,
I've been looking at a lot of stuff.
I forget what it was, but you were in there in the collection. I was like, oh no.
I know at some point I was trying to make that Khadgar mage. I was trying to look for a card that discounted itself, because if there was like a corridor creeper, I think that would take the deck to the next level, because it really feels like you need something to be able to play your... Is it Power of Creation, or is that the 8-mana one? The 3-mana twin spell card. You need something to
Conjurer's
be able to
Calling?
break that. Yeah, Conjurer's Calling.
I remember because you said it the first time, and I thought you said Conjurer's Closet, and I was like, wrong game.
Yeah, probably. But no, I built a version of the kind of Miracle Mage deck with a bunch of cheap spells and Cyclone and Antonitis, and I took it into 2 games in casual and destroyed, and then I lost 4 straight on ranked when I was like, oh, this deck's actually pretty good. Go into rank, just get ranched by everybody. So I think there's probably a version of that deck that works, or maybe I could have played it better, but that's what I tried and kind of failed at. What about you, Hat? Anything that any of these million deck lists that you've tried that has not worked quite well enough for you?
The worst performing deck I've played is Bomb Warrior. Well, it's almost every other list that I have has a positive win rate. There are a good number of lists that I just didn't really enjoy playing. I can't quite get the Token Druid to work, but I know there's something there. I really want to find a Heal Druid, but every single time I look at it and I think about crafting Lucent Bark, I'm like, maybe I hold off. Maybe just hold off for a second, because I want that card to be good, but I think there's a pretty good chance of it not being good.
I really want to try and play with the Stag.
Yeah.
The 5-mana 4/4. That card seems sweet. That seems like the actual payoff.
But I want to try both of those, but I'm really worried that the Heal Shell is just not a thing. And, yeah, I'm looking through my stats here. There aren't a ton of decks that I tried, and I was just like, this is a disaster. But there are a couple that I tried. Bomb Warrior I tried, and I was like, the games take too long, and when I lose games that long, it feels way worse than even losing quickly or winning slowly. Losing slowly is just the worst of the worst. So that's the one that I've kind of struggled with. Freeze Mage I played 4 games. I won 2 of them. It felt like I'd rather be making minions than conserving my burn and going face. But if I played more carefully, I bet I could win more with it because it's Freeze Mage. But I didn't want to slow down my play. I wanted to play more games, so I lost and then switched to an easier deck. And then one last question before we jump to the format and then the cards. Which deck are you already sick of or are you scared of? Appa, you have the floor.
It's Rogue. Rogue's busted. Please nerf Prepper Myras. If you're not playing with Myras, that's a mistake. You should be playing with that one. I understand that Gallon and Orange cut it and hit high legend ranks, but it's also the first and second day of a new meta, and you could pretty much put a proactive ham sandwich in either of their hands and they would hit rank 1 with it. So their lists are not refined. The argument that Gallon made for it was, you already have stuff to do, so why would you need Myras? And that to me is insane. That is an insane argument. You are going to gas out in games sometimes. You're going to want 2 mana draw 10 cards. It's Divine Favor to the nth degree, and the card is insane. And we took the Miracle Rogue Shell that we had last expansion, last format, only replaced a few cards, and then everything around it got worse. So this deck is insane, and I believe after the meta starts to settle down, it's going to be the best deck, and I think people are going to figure out a way to consistently beat Bomb Warrior and Control Warrior and Specialist, and I would be very surprised if it's not the highest win rate deck and in a tier of its own. I think it'll be in tier 1, and then I think everything else will be tier 2 or below, because I've been playing with the deck and it is unreasonably good. Like if we're being real, it's busted.
How can
So
a ham
I'm
sandwich be
interested-
proactive?
Look, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on whether you think Chef Nomi is a worthy inclusion in the list. My thought process is, if you're worried about Bomb Warrior or just kind of Warrior in general, because there's been a lot of Bomb Warrior and a lot of just full out Control Warrior, it seemed to me that Nomi was kind of the next step in the evolution of the deck, in that it's hard for Warrior to deal with it multiple turns in a row. So I was thinking that you just include this one of Chef Nomi, and if the game goes late, then you just Myra's Nomi Shadow Step and force them to deal with Nomi boards multiple turns in a row and win off of that. But I'm interested to hear if you think that it's actually good enough to include.
So I've played a bit with multiple different versions. I played with Gallon and Orange's version. Orange posted 2 different lists. He refined them a little bit. I played with Meaties, which had Chef Nomi in it, I believe, and then I played with one other person. I played with Lost Heads version as well. And the most powerful in a vacuum for me was definitely the version with Chef Nomi. But I also have a small sample size of like 3 games with it, because I switched between the decks a little bit just to kind of get a feel for them. But I had a hand where I had Prep Myras, because that combo is insane, and I did that on 7, drew into my Chef Nomi, and put 7 6/6s on the board on turn 8, and my opponent had no chance whatsoever. So the high rolls are incredibly high with that deck, but the low rolls are also really bad too, because you also will have these games where you draw Chef Nomi, and it's a 7 mana card, right? 7 mana 6/6.
Yep.
You just have a 7 mana 6/6 in your hand because it has to work with Myras. So my gut reaction is it's probably better to just play Myras without Nomi, because Myras is already good enough of a payoff by itself, because it just draws a million cards for 2 mana. Because when are you not ever prepping that out? Let's be realistic. So Chef Nomi, if it's only good with the best card in your deck and really bad other times, like I can definitely see not running it. But the draws where you do hit Nomi off Myras or have Nomi already are really, really gross. But my reaction, or my initial approach, would be cut the Nomi, just play Togwaggle as a top end, and then play Myras. And then that's probably the most efficient way to go with the deck. Bonicus and I were talking about before the show, people are starting to cut saps, which seems kind of weird. I understand it, because there's a lot of Control Warrior right now, and it's not great in the mirror. But I think once a meta starts to develop, if it changes significantly from what it is right now, where it's Control Warrior or Rogue as kind of the best 2 decks right now, if we start going towards like a meta where mid-range minions are more prevalent or big things get more important, I could see putting saps back in. But I think the way you really want to build the deck moving forward is just like Myra's Togwaggle as a top end, and then I think the Vendetta package with the Underbelly Fence and Hench Clan Burglar are really, really powerful. I mean, Vendetta's, whenever you get to activate it for 0 mana, it feels like you can't lose the game. It's just like, okay,
that's a card I
play a
missed on
Hench
for
Clan
sure.
Burglar, find the best card, replace itself, and then play a 0 mana Wing Blast, kill your thing.
Also, get the Hench Clan Burglar from your
Raiding party?
Raiding
party. Yeah.
I didn't know that card was was a pirate.
Yeah,
I
it
kept
is.
raiding party, and I was like, wait, why didn't I get my Captain Greenskin? And then I highlighted over the card, and I was like, oh no, that's
Yeah.
so much.
Though a lot of decks, especially the specialist builds, which are the ones that some of them are running Nomi, and a lot of them are they have a little bit of a different configuration than what we see in the ladder, are specifically cutting that card from the primary deck because you really want Raiding Party to get Wagglepick into free Dread Corsair as often as possible. So the only 3 pirates they run are Greenskin and Double Corsair. You can guarantee when you go either prep Raiding Party on 4 or you coin it out on 3 or whatever, that you're guaranteeing on turn 4 you're going to play a weapon and you're going to play a free 3/3 taunt. You're going to do both at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Vendetta is so good that it's hard for me to think of not including it. I could definitely see cutting Underbelly Fence. That card has not felt amazing to me, but I wasn't playing with Blink Fox, and that might be the reason.
Yeah,
But if everybody's playing Rogue, then obviously Blink Fox gets significantly worse.
Yeah,
So
Fence is garbage. I'm saying it now. Until they print a higher percentage of cards that burgle the way that HenchClan burglar burgles, where you're discovering a card of a different class as opposed to a card of your opponent's class, until they do that, card's not playable. Because you have to not be against a rogue or draw HenchClan. Every time I've played that the Underbelly Fence, it's been either a River Croc or like a 5-drop. And Vendetta is a totally worthwhile payoff because Wing Blast is 1 mana, deal 4 to a minion, and this is 0 mana, and you don't even have to do any work before except play one card that's part of your plan. It's so much easier to activate as long as you're not in the mirror, and it's so powerful. I do think Vendetta is the true payoff, but Underbelly Fence, until you can really consistently activate that card early, which I hope we can never do because that would be disastrous, it's not worth including because it's so awkward to play with, and Sap and Eviscerate are just better cards.
One card though that I think is going to make its way into the majority of lists is Evil Miscreant. That card, the 2 lackeys that you get is too much. It's actually crazy. And with Wagglepick, you can get the Miscreant out and then use your second charge of Wagglepick to pick up the Miscreant and play it again, and you just get four lackeys that are probably going to do some busted stuff to help you stay in the game. And also those lackeys help you with your Edwins. It helps you with some of your combo enablers for SI7 agent. It helps you. You're probably playing Togwaggle in the deck. And just a 1/5 body, it's obviously not statted greatly, but it can stick around for a little bit and just give you a little bit of staying power. I think that's going to be a card you're going to see in a lot of rogue decks. It's just lackeys are very powerful.
It's also the body itself is also really good with a bunch of the lackeys that come out. The transform effect's really good because it goes from a 1/5 into a 4-drop, which on average is an upgrade, and then it can also carry the +1 attack buff with rush, so that's really good too. And then the other ones are deal 2 damage and then summon a 2/2
spell
and then discover a spell. So those don't really count. But with 2 of those lackeys, like the body itself is pretty good because it carries a buff or transforms. And I was just thinking about this a little bit while we were talking about Underbelly Fence. Like, what 2-drop would you want to replace in the deck? And one problem I've run into with the deck is having a Togwaggle in my hand and not drawing one of the 2 evil miscreants, because Miscreant is really powerful and Togwaggle is bananas when you get to get the payoff. And lackeys are so good that I'd be okay with playing Evil Cable Rat in my deck. Just cutting the
it makes sense.
the stupid rush minions and putting Evil Cable Rat in there. Like cutting the Underbelly Fence, because like even in the mirror you still get the lackey, and then if you have the Togwaggle, you get to guarantee a Togwaggle on 7. So that seems pretty powerful. Like my argument against the lackey minions initially was that the lackeys may not be enough of a payoff for the understated bodies, but they absolutely are. So I think Evil Cable Rat is probably worth an inclusion on its own. So I think that might be a next logical step to take the deck also.
It's also another card you don't mind picking up with Wagglepick. Just getting
like
extra lackeys is good.
Wagglepick's so insane in the deck because like it's just the True Silver thing where a 4-mana 4-attack weapon is great, or True Silver / Deathbite, and just playing that on 4, killing a thing or going face is great. And then the Death Rattle provides like a good bit of value in the deck. Like I've picked up lackeys with the Death Rattle and been completely happy with it, depending on which lackey I get off the miscreant or whatever. So yeah, it's there's just so much value in the deck, and it's really aggressive.
And sometimes
it's really
you pick up
proactive.
Leroy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you also just pick up Leroy.
Yeah, I got to do that a couple times. It was nice.
And so we've talked a lot about the decks in this format, but let's talk about the format itself. We just came off of Mammoth, where the new card that they were printing made it even less interactive. What does this format feel like now? What is important? What are we playing for? What's changed, and what are we valuing when we play our games versus what we did a week ago? Go ahead, Bodikus, you start.
I think the thing I've noticed the most about the format is the lack of healing. Just every game feels like life total matters, chip damage matters more. It's so, with Druid losing all of its armor gain cards, every class lost its Death Knights, just there's less life gain, and so getting in damage here and there feels just has so much more value than it had before, and getting it, and it's just more about I mean, the game's always been about tempo, but the swing turns, I don't know. I'm actually trying to think how the swing turns feel. It actually, I was thinking it didn't feel as swingy, but it actually feels pretty swingy right now. Maybe even more so than before. It felt like the last format was really all about building up to a big couple turns or a big late game engine. And now it just feels like you kind of just, the decks that are able to prevent you from developing any tempo, or allow you, or like allow you to kind of, just getting chip damage. I'm thinking of mainly Rogue and Warrior is really all about preventing you from ever getting tempo on them, and Rogue is all about getting the tempo and maintaining it and chipping you down until they kill you, is what it has felt like to me so far.
Yeah, and the question I'll ask, and this is something I can speak to as well, I agree there are more swing turns. Do those swing turns win you the game?
No, because they're not cube play dead.
Because that's what I've noticed. I agree about the healing thing, that every class is bad at healing except Shaman. And we're going back to playing Alexstrasza, myself, and Lord Jaraxxus as legitimate sources of healing, which is kind of an interesting place to be. And early taunts are definitely way worse because we don't have Creeper and Out of My Jungle, which were in standard for a full 2 years. But I've had a lot of games where either I have had a super gross turn or my opponent has, but that didn't define what won the game. I haven't played against swing turns yet that mean I can't ever win. Except for when I'm Zoo and my opponent Xerx's cloning Gallery Out's convincing Infiltrator and Ziliax. I did lose that one, and the Safeguard. But a lot of the swing turns feel dealable. It feels like the most powerful things to do in a single turn aren't game-winning anymore. And that's kind of really significant.
Yeah, I think the only card on its own that really generates a swing turn that feels like it ends the game is if you have Togwaggle and then prep out the legendary treasure and high roll the legendary, because that feels like it's really hard to come back from unless you have a specific answer. But other than that, all of the swing turns feel like they used to, like 3 years ago, where you would have a swing turn and then that just meant that you had board control and initiative, which is what it's supposed to mean, as opposed to here's a cube, here's infinite value or doom guards, and you're dead. Or here's my swing turn, Xerx's cloning gallery, mind blast you. My swing turn means you're dead. So
Oh man, speaking of swing turns, I saw just before the cast, I saw Purple playing a game with Gallon co-oping, and on turn 7 they were playing the Rogue Mirror, and they were dying slowly. They were getting chipped down, and they went turn 7 Togwaggle, prep get 2 legendary Ondastas, double trade Ondastas, and then play a lackey that evolves one of the Ondastas into a Deathwing.
Did they win?
Yeah, they won they won the next turn. They definitely won the next turn.
Yeah, but yeah, this format feels way better than Year of the Raven, because Year of the Raven was Year of the Mammoth Part 2. So we didn't really get a Year of the Raven, if we're being honest. So it feels like we're getting Year of the Raven plus Year of the Dragon stapled together, which is great.
No, we got a Year of the Raven. We got Year of the Mammoth plus an animation at the beginning of half the games. And I will tell you, the number of times after the mulligan that I've just stared at my opponent's hero power for a solid 20 seconds before I'm like, wait a minute. It probably isn't odd or even.
Yeah, the first probably 5 games against Warrior, I was like, Baku didn't trigger. Oh yeah, awesome. But my big issue with last format was you picked a class and you picked the best OTK in that class because you had access to multiples in each class, and that's what you did. And there was no disruption. There was no way to interact with it, and you were kind of just solitaring at each other most of the time. Even the aggro decks were just solitaring at you because they were going Dire Maul, Razor Maw. Can you beat this? No? Okay, good game. Next one.
And if you can, turn 10, Tundra Rhino Hyena, something bad's gonna happen. Tundra Rhino Hyena Unleash, and then you're dead now. That was full on combo Hunter.
Tundra Rhino make 3/5.
Oh yeah, Dire Frenzy my Tundra Rhino, and then next turn Master's Call. Yeah, it was gross. There was a lot of grossness going on. And I agree that this is a mid-range meta. Everything is about the board, and what I've noticed that all the decks feel so clunky, because you can really, really feel the difference between 6-set standard and 4-set standard, in that you just look at the options in your deck and you're like, this doesn't feel great. And then you go to the collection, you're like, well, yes, this is the best I got. And then you just go about your day.
In the handlock deck that I was playing, we're playing Traveling Healer. 4-mana 3/2 Divine Shield heals for 3. That's the best we got, and I am happy about it.
That card is annoying. Holy crap, that card is annoying.
Yeah, Divine Shield plus 3 attack is actually relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we think of it, we go like from last set where we were going Coin Skull into Voidlord, good game, idiot, into playing Traveling Healer and being happy about it. It is a drastic shift. Yeah,
or just turn 2 Keliseth.
Or
good luck.
Or heal myself for 4 turns in a row and then Shadow Essence.
Yeah.
With maybe a Mass Hysteria if things got out of hand.
Yeah, like Hat said, board control matters a lot. Like, even the control deck, it cares about dealing with the board. It doesn't just ignore what's going on and then kill you. I mean, card advantage is relatively important. Tempo, I feel like, is pretty important now. I mean, just interacting with the board is more important than it has been for the past 2 years. Because both players, like, whoever's ahead on board, it matters now. And that's a great place to be, because Hearthstone is built on minion combat. Like, that's what it's supposed to be about. You're supposed to have outlier combo decks, but they're not just supposed to be like, okay, board literally doesn't matter. Psychic Scream you what you did for the past 7 turns. Irrelevant. Cloning Gallery, take 40.
Yeah. I won a game earlier today by actively using the magnetic mechanic on cards not named Ziliax multiple sequential turns. That's a new thing. Hearthstone didn't do that before.
One of the decks that I tried out was just full Mech Warrior, and the deck wasn't very good, but the magnetic part of the deck was good. I stuck a minion, and then I put the 3/1 that makes 3 1/1s on it, and then I put a War Gear on it, and then I put another War Gear on it, and I was like, oh, my opponent can't efficiently deal with this. You're taking a lot. Still lost, but it felt really powerful, which is something that would have not been the case a month ago. And what's less important than in this format as opposed to last format is OTKs, because they pretty much don't exist really, and the ones that do exist are fair.
Yeah,
they deal exactly 30.
Well, so there are a couple spooky ones. because I saw Dog playing OTK Shaman, Malagos Shaman, and his opponent played a Hagatha, and he said, "Oh crap, my combo only does 30 damage. I don't know how I'm gonna I need to figure out how I get rid of that 5 armor," and he could not get rid of the 5 armor, so he lost. But I also watched Slissa playing a Geppetto Joybuzz Malagos Hunter. And
yeah, my thing with the Geppetto decks is like they're really powerful, and when they go off, like they pop off. But the thing
right.
is like you don't have any deck manipulation in the format besides
Well,
Baleful Banker.
well, the Geppetto Hunter,
Yeah.
Theo got top 10 with it. You Master's Call, and the only minions in
Mhm.
your deck are Geppetto, Varisa, and Malagos.
Alex Strauza.
Oh, he plays 4.
It plays Alex. Yeah.
Theo's build didn't play Alex, and it played Malagos and
Melissa was playing Alex
Varisa.
in the deck.
Okay, but no Varisa? Or yes Varisa?
No, yes, Varisa.
Okay.
So it's a really small window of fail rate, but I think it also makes you better because obviously the biggest scary part about the Geppetto decks would be if you draw your cards before you draw Geppetto. If you draw your minions before you draw Geppetto, your deck just doesn't work.
Yeah,
And also we have tech cards. Like that's the cool part is we have tech cards to be able to help out against it.
yeah. The thing with Geppetto is like think of four minion cloning gallery priest, where if you had all 4 minions in your deck and you cloning galleried and you had a mind blast, they died. But the vast majority of the games you drew at least one of those combo pieces before you got to play the cloning gallery. So then you had to play them out and then resurrect them and then build it up that way. So in these Geppetto decks, a lot of the time you're going to draw a combo piece or two. Just that's just how it works. And you're not going to be able to get the Geppetto to really go off. So it's really inconsistent. It's powerful, but it's inconsistent. So I doubt there'll be like major players moving forward just because we don't have that sort of like manipulation of what can go on. Like in the cloning gallery deck, they fixed that with resurrect effects because if you drew the minions, you just played them out and then you rezzed them up and killed your opponent. But we don't really have access to that right now. So that's really what I mean when I say the OTKs are way less important because they do exist, but they are way more cheesy and way less good than they were, which is a very good place.
I've also seen Malagos Druid with Geppetto in it too, which it has Geppetto, Malagos, and double faceless, which is kind of I think it's Geppetto, Malagos, double faceless, double the 7-mana 4/4
Dream Petal Florist.
Dream Petal Florist, yeah. And probably a Floop in there too, but it's got that one's also like, but Druid lost so much. You just look at the amount of armor gain they have, and you can actually just kill them now because they don't have Spreading Plague and they don't have Branching Paths and they don't have Spellstone and they don't have Naturalize. So they don't have their early removal options and they don't have their armor gain that keeps them alive forever. So you can actually just kill Malagos Druid.
They lean really hard into Ferocious Howl and into Keeper Stalagers, the new legendary with Crystal Power, which can, for 4 mana, can heal them for 10, which is a lot. But it's healing, it's not armor. They can't proactively build that up, which matters a lot. And they use War Druid Loti a lot, which has the 4 forms for defense quite frequently. It also plays the Sun River War Mage. You have Starfire, you have Starfall, you have Nourish in there. There's a good amount of removal options, but it's definitely a more fair build. But it did hit. There was a build that had not a lot of the cards you're talking about, Bodicus, that hit top 10 Legend. It only played 1 Florist, no Faceless, and you just go get Alex and Mally and just burn them down. And with just Moonfires and Crystal Power does go face. So you can Dome for 2 there that way as well. Which means with Mally it's Dome for 7.
Yeah, so there is OTKs, but you're definitely right, Appa. They don't feel near as spooky as OTKs from 2 days ago. So I think I'm okay with it. I still want there to be OTKs. I think this is As long as they're not able to get refined so much that they feel like last year's OTKs. I think I'm okay with where they're at right now.
With double Hecklebot in the format, I think it'll be pretty difficult for any deck to beat that if OTK becomes the primary strategy.
Hecklebot and the
Saboteur.
Yeah.
Both are very, very
Pat
good.
got saboteured yesterday.
So I got saboteured, and my opponent cast my Boom Ship, and I got a Ysera and 2 other giant dragons, and also lost that game. Because I was playing Dragon Warrior, and they were playing Control Shaman with Hagathas. And so, after they were busy dealing with my Ysera, which gave me a dream and a laughing sister, they just kept playing cards that gave them more cards, and then they fatigued me. It was something, because Shaman is legit. It's got the healing, it's got the resource generation, it's got quite a bit. And now that we've kind of gone over the format, it's time to get into the final bit here. Cards. I want to talk about cards. What are some cards that impressed us that flew under our radar that we weren't really expecting? Besides Sunreaver Warmage, because that's the one that I think we can all talk about. Neutral.
Yeah, that was what I was going to choose.
Yeah. We're all going to talk about Sunreaver Warmage, because I think it is the most impressive, non-noticeable card that I found out about from the Hero Power rating spreadsheet. I didn't know that card existed before I went to rate it, and I read it and was like, this card seems good. And then I played 30-something games yesterday, and it was in over 10 of them, both in my deck and my opponent's decks. It just is good. It's just efficient and powerful and not that hard to turn on.
Speaking of efficient, mine is HenchClan Hogsteed. Because, I mean, it's really unassuming, but, I mean, it's just a 2-drop, kills a thing, spits something out. It's kind of efficient, fights for the board, it's fine. It's not overpowered, it's not bad, it's just right in the middle, it's right where you need to be, where you want to be fighting for the early game, and it's impressed me. I didn't really give any thought to it whenever I saw it, but I saw some people trying it out, put it in a couple decks, and it's pretty solid.
And well, Boticus, you were playing with another card that I think qualifies as under the radar in the Mech Hunter deck. Safeguard.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a card that I don't know how much staying power it's going to have, but it felt way more powerful than it looked when so that's
every time my opponent's played that against me, I've been like, man, that's annoying.
It's going to be so hard to get through, and it's going to eat away some of your stuff. It just buys so much time, and it kind of reminds me, and I didn't get a chance to play with it a lot, and I'm going to make a reference here that you guys probably won't agree with, but this finally feels like a Sludge Belcher. It's probably not nearly as good as Sludge Belcher, but it feels very Sludge Belcher-esque. In just the mech tag is very relevant.
Yeah, it serves the same kind of role, like coming down, blocking a thing, blocking some more stuff. Definitely less good for sure, but it's similar to what Sludge Belcher did. Which, yeah, it's every time it's been played against me, I've been like, man, I don't want to hex this, but I'm going to.
I don't think that comparison is altogether inaccurate, but I think I would compare it to Sunwalker as well. I think that's a reasonable comparison, where it's just like it's slightly below statted, but it's so annoying to get through that it feels like it's worth more than you're paying, even though the body is worse.
I was trying to compare it to a card that really saw play, though. Did Sunwalker actually see play before?
In vanilla.
Like, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. But,
yeah. But I see what you're saying.
Okay.
I think the Sludge Belcher comparison is not altogether inaccurate. What about cards that we overrated? I'll go first. Soul the Murloc. Soul the Murloc's the one that I think I really overrated. Because it's fine, but I was envisioning the super gross unclearable Bloodlust deck. But when the entire format is built around interacting with minions, people can interact with your minions. They can... If people are constantly clearing each other's boards, you have to work really hard to build a board, and then buff it up, and then Bloodlust your opponent, assuming they have no taunts, and that they're at a low enough life total that you've been able to sustain aggression, and that they don't play Warpath. Because Warpath is good. It's a real good card. And requiring one extra activation of that when you telegraph it is not too difficult. So I think Soul of the Murloc, every time I've played it, it's been mildly okay, but I wouldn't be surprised if it starts falling out of decks.
Yeah, I've never been like upset with it, but it's always felt a little more underwhelming than I expected.
What about you, Appa? What'd you overrate?
So, I think I may have overrated Dr. Boom's scheme. Because I gave it an F. But it's even worse than that. It's just awful.
It's not me. It wasn't me this time.
No, I put that as a meme. I really don't know. Like, is there anything that stands out from y'all that I may have overrated? I think Witch's Brew is really good, but the shaman decks that it goes in right now aren't like super great. Like whenever you play a Witch's Brew, you're just like, oh man, that felt good. And I think the power level I was definitely right on there, but I feel like I don't know, I just haven't been having like the success with the shaman, like grindy shaman deck that I thought I would whenever the expansion dropped. Because you have like all this stuff that goes really nicely together with like a control Shutterwalk deck, but it's just a pile of value and like no clear way to win the game. Um, and I said Witch's Brew is probably one of the best cards in the set, and I think I stand by that in terms of like raw power in a vacuum. But we judge cards by how playable they are and how good they are in the decks that they're in. So, I mean, the Shaman deck isn't actually putting up great results right now. I know in Legend right now on HS Replay, it's like 45% win rate. And that's kind of my experience with the deck, so it's not like spectacular. So I guess my real answer would be Witch's Brew, just because of the nature of how Shaman is performing right now. But I still think the card's super powerful.
Okay, Appa. I got what you actually overrated. On episode 181, you said the cards you can't wait to play with are the Nozari and Dragon Paladin cards.
Oh yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I didn't put that because I haven't actually opened Nozari. I think I have almost every other legendary in the set but Nozari.
Well, I don't think I'd craft Nozari right now.
Okay.
Because how many Dragon Paladins have you seen?
I played against one.
How was
I
it?
think
They had the perfect paladin curve, and I beat them at 1 life. I was at 1 life. And I beat them.
Yeah. I think Paladin's in a really bad spot. I think Paladin's really, really struggling right now. The only Paladin deck that I've seen that I would build is Holy Wrath Paladin. And I think that deck is still fine.
Yeah, I saw Viper had a
that would be the
on
list that I would build if I were building it. But outside of Holy Wrath Paladin, I would not play a single Paladin deck. I have played against Secret Paladin. I have played where they had turn 1 Secret Keeper Coin Secret, turn 2 Mysterious Blade, into Rissa, into another Mysterious Blade, and after their hand was empty, they kept top decking secrets, and I kept top decking any other card that was actually a card, and they lost because they have no refuel. So the Dragon Paladin list, I think, is just a little bit too slow right now. That would be. It's not even really a list. I haven't seen it, and no one's even experimenting with it because the mid-range strategies in this format are just so much better. And when your payoff from your 3-mana 3/2 is 4/4s and everyone's playing Sun Reaver War Mage, you don't want that. That's not a good enough payoff.
That I didn't even think about that. Like, if your plan is 3/2 on 3 into 4/4, like against Rogue, it's like okay, backstab, waggle pick, GJ.
Or like play a Vendetta ever, or Sun Reaver War Mage is a neutral that trades with both dragons.
That just now that I've seen that, it seems like that lines up really poorly against what's going on right now.
Yep. So I'm not calling you out, but you asked me to call you out, so I called you out a little bit.
I mean, I couldn't remember, so I'm glad you did.
What about you, Batikus?
Mine's pretty quick. Just the 2 portal cards. I kind of figured that they might have a spot, and I'm not fully ready to say that they're garbage, but definitely people aren't playing with them a whole lot right now, so I'm kind of waiting to see, but I assume they're probably not good. I couldn't really. There's a lot of cards that are probably not performing up to snuff, like also Underbelly Fence was a card I really wanted in my decks, but I don't know, people still have that in their rogue decks, so I'm not fully ready to say that that card's not good enough, but we'll kind of see as it goes on. But I would think the portal cards, the ones that shuffle 3/2/2s with rushes into your deck, I think you can just be doing better things, like the Magic Carpet Zoo deck. So
Well, and we have data about what's winning tournaments. Now we'll tell you that the players that are winning tournaments are not playing Underbelly Fence. Not a single one. All the rogue decks that are top 8 have cut that card for Saps and Eviscerates, which are, the real rogue 2-drops, because you dagger, and then play those cards later and you win the game.
Those aren't 2-drops, they're 0-drops, let's be real.
That's fair. But let's talk about underrating, and I've got a few that I was looking at here, but I gave Oblivitron an F, and I was wrong. I was 100% wrong about Oblivitron. And listen, I'm gonna look at this rating scale. I've got the spreadsheet right in front of me. I gave Wagglepick a C. That's what I gave it.
Oh no, he's backtracking.
I have it written down. I document. I gave it a C. I think it's a fine card, but it's much, much better than I expected. Because what I was looking at the effect, I was thinking about it in context of Hench Clan Thug, which is now somehow not good enough, which is crazy, which is a crazy world we live in. But 4 attack twice on turn 4 as a weapon, you could make that card blank, and it is good enough. The interaction with Dread Corsair and
I think it's important that it's in Rogue.
Well, but any other class would play that. Any class would play a 4-mana 4/2 blank.
I mean, if you gave a Shaman a vanilla 4-mana 4/2 weapon, I would play that pretty much all my decks. A lot of the time as Paladin, you would just equip a True Silver at 30, kill something, and just be like, okay, I don't care about this life here at all.
Yeah, True Silver has seen play the entire time it's been around. It's never been amazing. It's been a C card, right? It's solid, which is what I thought Wagglepick was. But the combination with Raiding Party and Dread Corsair pushes it way over the line, combined with the fact that Evil Miscreant and all the lackeys are such good bounce targets. So I definitely missed low on that one. I think there were cards I missed worst on. The cards that I feel like I missed the worst on were Oblivitron and Forest Aid. Forest Aid is seeing a lot of play in Token Druid, and you cannot make that deck without that card. It's so many tokens, so much power over and over again. So those were the two that I feel like I got the most wrong.
It's like very similar to Living Mana. It doesn't give you as many trance, but you get to do it twice. Like I was playing earlier on stream, and I just needed one extra AoE because they had the twin-spelled copy of Forest Aid, and I'm like, I can't clear this one. I've gotten through everything else, but this twin-spelled copy, I can't beat it. And then they just Savage Roared me, and I died.
Yep.
So yeah, just the inherent value in Twin Spell is really cool. Stapled onto Forest Aid is a really nice curve topper for the Token Druid deck.
What about you, Oppa? What do you think you underrated?
Vendetta, because that was not even on my radar, and that card is bananas. Yeah, again, like whenever we were going through card like evaluations, pretty much what I did was like 30 minutes before the show, look through the spoilers for that day and be like, what cards look cool? Vendetta seemed like a meme because it has the Burgle Claws on it, and usually when I see that in Rogue, I'm like, meme card. Not a meme. Card's real good. Hench Clan Burglar, Vendetta, really, really good swing turn.
And Botticus?
Any card that has the word lackey on it. I severely underrated it. I think all of them are very playable, with the exception of maybe the Priest one.
Well, I think that's a commentary on what Priest is doing.
Yeah.
Because Priest 2-drops, the only Priest 2-drop that saw consistent play while it was in Standard was the one that interacted with your spells, was Radiant Elemental. Because Shadow Ascendant, which is, in any other class, they'd be like, please give me this card, it's so good. Priest is like, I guess we'll play this if you make us take out all the spells from our deck. That's the only condition in which they play Shadow Ascendant.
But I actually think that if Priest is ever in a position that it's able to play minions that it doesn't want to resurrect, like if it's not resurrecting minions, I think that the card is really good. I think you probably play it just because lackeys are that good.
Yep, and it's a free lackey.
I expect all of the lackey cards to see play, with the exception of maybe that one.
I second Botticus. I'm a super low on lackeys. Those cards are nice.
Yeah, I thought it was going to compare to Zeril, and that is not the comparison because the potions Zeril gave you are much worse than the 1/1 bodies with better effects on them. What about cards
it'll
that...
be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see what lackeys they add. If they add worse lackeys because lackeys are too good. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
I wouldn't be surprised either. What do we think we got just on the nose? What do we think you got right?
I think the one I got like spot on was Underbelly Angler, because like it's crazy when you go off with it. Once you get it going, you're just like, can't possibly lose this game. Get out of this game. Get a bunch of Murlocs. And it's the reason to play Murloc Shaman, pretty much. Like Scargill, I thought that card would also be very good, and it's good because Underbelly Angler's good. And without Underbelly Angler, you would not play Murloc Shaman. Card's really, really strong. And I don't think I overrated it. I don't think I underrated it. I think I hit exactly where it was. I think I gave it... Did I give it a B? I think I gave it a B or an A. I don't remember.
You combined it with Scargill and gave it an A?
Yeah, okay. I think I was right there.
What about you, Bot? What do you think you got?
I'm just going to say it. I think I got Waggle Pick right on the nose. I might not have gotten exactly where it would be used because I was thinking Hench Clan would still be in the deck, but I felt like that card was going to be very good, and it's showing to be very good. And it's still early, but I expect to see it in most of the rogue lists while it's in standard.
Yep, I really do think that card is meta-defining in a way that I really wasn't expecting it to, and it helps to define that 4 health versus 5 health is an enormous, enormous deal in this current meta.
Although Greenskin is still there, so if you're going to try to play the... Oh, I'm so bad with card names. I apologize to all the listeners, because whenever I listen to podcasts, I always think in my head, I know what that card is, and then I'm on the cast now and I can't think of it. But the 5 mana 4/5 that Death Rattle gains you 5.
Rotten Apple
or
Bomb.
Gains you 4. Yeah, Rotten Apple Bomb. Seems like it'd be really good, but it goes right into the Greenskin turn if you're going Waggle Pick into Greenskin and you get to clear it.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
So how I'm fixing that problem, because I'm having trouble with all these card names too, is I have the Rise of Shadows visual spoiler pulled up on my on a tab, and I just swap back and forth and just scroll down the list, find the class I'm talking about, and try and find the card. And then
that wouldn't help with Apple Bomb. That would not have helped me with Apple Bomb. But Proud Defender, maybe it's time for Proud Defender to shine, because that card seems quite good.
Yeah, I played against a control mage today, and they dumpstered me. So there's entirely... It's entirely possible that card is really relevant.
Whenever my opponent has had that in a good deck, like, it's been really solid, and I've felt like it's been pretty good. I think 2 out of the 3 decks I played against that have had it in it have been Shamans, and they've gone Totem, Proud Defender, and I'm like, that's not how you do that one. That's anti-synergy. But I played against it in a Control Warrior, and I'm like, that's a 4/6. That's big.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of Bloodhoof Brave a little bit. It feels really nice when you're able to consistently set up a deck where you want to play that on 4 and it's active. Because the extra attack, when your opponent's minions trade into them, they die instead of just living with 1 health, and that's a huge difference. As far as...
It seems insane in Control Warrior, because Control Warrior just wants to just armor up every turn, and it does not mind wasting mana on some turns to just be able to hero power, so that's actually really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think you'd probably want that in a deck without the 3 mana 3/3 bomb guy, because you'd want to play that on 3 a lot of the time.
No bombs.
Yeah, I put it in Fatigue Warrior.
You could potentially like play Eternium Rover as a 1-drop, because that'll trade off a lot of the time versus aggro anyways, and then just play the Proud Defender. I mean, cards seem pretty good.
As for me, the card that I feel like I got the most on the nose was Unleash the Beast. I think it is better than Highmane, mostly because of Twin Spell and the Zul'jin interaction. Because you play it on 6, and it kills a thing, and it's got 5 health, not 4, like we talked about. It's the breakpoint of the format. Usually trades with 2 things. Then you do it again, and then on turn 10 you play Zul'jin, you get 2 more. And then also the copy that had Twin Spell when you first cast it, that Zul'jin plays, puts another Unleash in your hand. So you end up, this 1 card gives you 5 5/5s with Rush. The amount of value you're getting there is insane. The amount of board control you're getting there is insane. It turns on Sun River War Mage. It's a relevant on-curve play. It's quite strong. I wouldn't say meta-defining.
Have you played it with yeah, well, I know you haven't done this, but playing the front half with Vargoth is also gross.
Oh, yeah, that's not okay. I have not done that, and I not sure if I want to.
Does Vargoth give you the twin spell
Yes.
copy?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that has the word twin spell on it, if anything else casts it for you, you get a copy in your hand.
That's so sweet.
It's gross. Yeah. And so let's jump into a lightning round here as we close out the podcast. I'm going to ask 2 questions. 2 sequential questions. They're both lightning round. You have 60 seconds to answer each one. First, card from Year of the Raven that is impressing you the most now. Appa, go.
Warpath. Hashtag I was right. Thunderhead. Hashtag I was right. Your turn.
Bodicus.
So I'm actually going to answer both questions because it's the same card for both of them. Ziliax, and it impressed me before, but it's still, it is, yeah, it's stupid. That card, I hate that card. it's too good. And I guess we didn't ask the second question, but the second question was, what card do you think will be nerfed, if any? Ziliax. That card's just too good. I think I think it's too good.
Yep, I think that is pretty accurate. I'm trying to think of cards that have really impressed me from the previous year that weren't seeing play. Warpath is the obvious answer. Zul'jin is still really good. It was already really good.
Thunderhead train. We were
Okay,
about the
I
Thunderhead
love
for a while.
I love Thunderhead, but you already said it. I love Warpath, you already said it. I'm really glad I can play Thunderhead. I've seen a couple Soul Thrazes. I've enjoyed seeing Soul Thraze. I don't know. Warrior is much better, but even with the older cards, they were the cards that were already kind of good. I guess Sephorium Bomber, but I'm not glad it's seeing play. It makes sense that it's seeing play. I think how well Zul'jin is held up has really surprised and impressed me because it lost a whole bunch of really busted spells, and it's still very good. I think we'll be seeing a lot of Hunter going forward. Card you think will be nerfed? Appa, is it Prep or Myras or both?
Prep / Myras is my answer, and then also Archivist Elysiana. It's either going to be nerfed or removed from Specialist, or something else is going to happen to it. It's just an issue that they're going to need to deal with. It's just the elephant in the room, and then I think Prep Myras, either one of those or both, will be addressed within probably the next 3 months.
Bodicus?
Ziliax. I said it.
Yeah. It should cost 6 or be a 2/2 or something. It's just
Or just not have Magnetize, I think, honestly, is the best. If it didn't have Magnetize, I think that's the actual problem with it, is that you just magnetize it onto another minion and it's too big. It's too hard to deal with.
Just the 3 health on its own, like, that's reasonable. It's really strong, but it's like reasonable at that point. But sticking it onto the stupid Omega Defender thing or whatever it's called, not Omega.
Yep.
Omega
That
Devastator.
one's gross,
4/5
but also
gives you a gigantic chunk of life that a lot of decks just can't come back from.
you know what's also gross? Sticking it on that new 2/2 that whenever it deals damage, you gain armor.
Ooh.
I did that today. That was 10 life.
That's 10 life per hit?
Yep.
Yeah, that seems really strong. I think that makes a lot of sense. So the card I'm going to answer, I don't think they are going to nerf it because I don't think they know how, but I think they want to nerf it. And I think if I'm looking over the course of this year, Hagatha Death Knight, the Hagatha hero card. I don't think they know how to nerf Bewitch because it's so integral to how the card functions. But every single time you play a minion, including Sludge Slurper, which generates another minion, and you get another spell, the value generation is Mammoth-esque. It was the first post-Mammoth Death Knight they made. And I expect that they will want to do something about it and will not know how to do that. Maybe they'll make it cost 9. Maybe they'll do something else. Honestly, the way to nerf it is to make it give you 2 spells, because then your hand is just too full. Because I have hand size issues with that card all the time. But they have to do something. They don't have to do something, but every time I play against it, and I'm any kind of minion deck that wants to win before turn 13 or whatever, they play Hagathon 8 and I lose.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I think that is the spookiest thing of just the last 2 days, is the decks that are really good are rogue and classes that have hero cards in them. And it's scary that the hero cards might be too good for the rest of the format, and I hope that is not the case.
Yeah, I love Hagatha more than most people. I played with it when I shouldn't have many times. It's one of the first gold legendaries I've crafted, or I crafted in a very long time. It's one of my favorite cards ever printed, possibly my favorite. And I think it's just a little bit too powerful for what's going on right now. Like against control, every minion you play is a 2-for-1, and then against aggro, slam it on 8. It's a board clear, and then you usually just find removal with your minions that you play. So it's like they can't ever win. Yeah, I think it's just a little too much.
And that'll wind down our section, except for one more question. What deck are you going to queue up after this show that you're going to recommend to the listeners? It can be for winning or for fun. Just make sure you're clear on which is which.
Mech Hunter for both.
Yep.
I think. I think it's good enough to win. I don't think it's the best deck. I don't know if it's the most winning deck, but it's definitely a lot of fun. It definitely does a lot of sweet stuff. And there's a ton of card choices I have to go over because I think you can really, really change a lot how it functions by
Appa?
changing a couple cards.
I haven't played with it yet, but I know it's good. For winning, Magic Carpet Zoo, and for fun is my Dragon Shaman list because I have a blast playing it.
Yeah. All the control shaman builds. I definitely want to play more of that, but my recommendation for both is going to be spell damage aggro mage. And I think the conjuring mage might be more fun, but is also worse because you have no healing outside of Alexstrasza. So I'm going to recommend mage and mage, even though it is the lowest win rate class on HS Replay right now. I don't care. And that is our incredibly long-winded, super fun explanations like this incredibly, hopefully long-legged, healthy format. But we have to ask ourselves,
How long can this go on?
and we want to say a big thanks to the many, many folks that keep the show going and help us produce it, help us get everything together, and give you all the information that you need to be successful and have fun on the ladder. Check out our thanks section on the website at coincade.com. You can find our contact info, show notes, and Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/coinconcedepodcast. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. If you'd like some CC swag, head over to shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our amazing producers, Viriatus, Ryan, Donald, Pug Ugly, and Doge TK. And I will coin concede first because I feel like it. I would like to coin concede to the devs for an amazing expansion and their hard work over the past few months at restoring as much community goodwill as they can. It worked really well. People that are brewing cool decks, everyone that came to my stream yesterday, as it was so much fun. I've been off the wagon for a while. It's been a long time, and so many people showed up, and I was really, really appreciative of every single one of you for making me feel welcome, for returning to the world of casual competitive Hearthstone. And 1600 Dust, they had 200 episodes this week. Props to you, 1600 Dust. You all have been around forever. I was trying to explain how many episodes 200 episodes is, especially because some of those weren't numbered. The original Know Your Role episodes were not numbered. That's 4 years of podcasting. That's a lot of podcasting. So, props to Chris and Spivey and Matt and Ziggy over there in 1600 Dust. What about you, Batikus?
So I would like to coin concede to everybody who likes to bring up that Waggle Pick is a playable card. So Forest Bates, Daggered, DeForge. I don't know why it makes me so happy, but it does. Probably because I know that every time this it gets mentioned, Hat dies a little inside just knowing I'm on the other end of my phone smiling, and it brings me so much joy. So anybody who's bringing up Waggle Pick, just it brightens my day, and I thank you. Coin concede to you. Go ahead, Alpha.
So, man, I feel like I'm about to drag the podcast down a little bit. So, gonna get a little heavy for a second. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm not always the most vocal about it on Twitter, but I am pretty vocal about it in Discord. But I have pretty severe chronic depression, and I take medicine for it pretty much every day. I mean, I say pretty much, but literally every day I have to. And recently it's been working like a lot less effectively, so I need to go to the doctor and get my prescription upped. But the past couple days, for me, for having depression, I just to put it bluntly, because I mean, I don't mean to drag the podcast down, and I don't mean to make it a little dark, but it's kind of just the reality that I live in, and I like being outspoken about mental health because it's very often stigmatized. But the reality with me, with living with this condition, is I have thoughts of suicide fairly frequently, and the past couple days have been not great for me mentally, and it's been rough. And what helps me a lot is just venting about it, and being able to vent in the sub channel in Discord, the Serious Talk channel, has actually just helped a lot today and yesterday. I mean, that's kind of turned my mood around on its own. Just having a place to go and just vent my concerns and my issues and how I'm feeling helps a lot. I mean, it just helps kind of get some endorphins firing in my brain and help me turn some stuff around. So thanks to everybody who's in the Serious Talk Discord channel and who responded to me after I posted in there earlier today, and just who lets me vent in there and reads my stuff. So I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, it's Discord in general is a very supportive community. If you are not in there, we strongly recommend checking it out. And that's going to be our show for the day. Thank you very much for everyone for tuning in. Keep calm and plan for fatigue. And if you see us on the ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Take cold comfort in your victory. You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death. You have triumphed. This time.